all and share my thoughts on this crucial topic. In today's world, the demand for high quality audits has increased tremendously, and there's a growing need for auditors to constantly improve their skills and knowledge to ensure that they're delivering the best possible service to their clients. The audit quality maturity model is a tool that can help the auditors to assess their current practices and identify the areas of improvement. By using this model, we can measure the maturity level and determine what steps we need to take to enhance the quality of the audit. Today, we have very eminent speaker, CA RS Balaji from Chennai. Welcome, sir, who will be dwelling into this topic to and fro. As the members of the accounting profession, it is our responsibility to uphold the highest standards of professionalism and ethical conduct. The audit quality maturity model can help us to achieve this goal by providing a framework for continuous improvement in our audit practices. I look forward hearing your thoughts and ideas on the audit quality maturity model and how we can work together to ensure that the profession continues to thrive. With this brief welcome speech, I would request our secretary, CA Manjunath M. Hallur, to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, members. It's my proud privilege to introduce today's speaker, CA RS Balaji, sir, to this August gathering. Welcome, sir. RS Balaji, sir, is a practicing fellow chartered accountant specializing in audit and indirect taxation. He is a certified peer reviewer by Peer Review Board of ICAI. He is a co-opted member, Auditing Assurance Standards Board of ICAI in 2019, 20, and 21. He is a member of Academic Council of Sri Sankara Arts and Science College, Kanchipuram, and he is a member editorial board. Is faculty for the following subjects for CA students: auditing and assurance for CA intermediate, advanced auditing and professional ethics for CA final, and indirect tax law and information systems and control audit for CA final year. He has co-authored a professional book from Paduka's publications, Company Law Ready Referencer. He has been awarded as best outgoing student and secured first rank to his college. And he's a regular speaker at various professional forums on subjects like GST, standards on auditing, peer review, audit quality maturity model, etc. And he has completed certification course on international taxation also. With this brief introduction, I once again welcome you, sir, and then I present RS Balaji, sir, to you all. Over to you, sir.
Very good evening, members from the Bangalore branch of SIRC of ICI. It's really a privilege for me to be here, a part of this particular ritual knowledge gathering, Jnana Yajnam, that what usually Bangalore branches usually used to perform. I'm always continues to be a part of this particular endowment of this branch. Really privileged to be working towards all of you member learned professionals. Thank you, Pramod sir, for your wonderful introduction. You have really set out the platform for this particular evening, and thank you, Manjunath sir, for your kind words by introducing myself. And I also recognize the work done by the chairperson Divya ma'am for providing me this opportunity, and all the office bearers for accommodating me for this particular wonderful evening. Let me move on to this particular topic, which is as Pramod sir was rightly pointing it out, this is considered to be very relevant in today's context, specifically with regard to the quality improvement, with regard to the way in which we are working. Being chartered accountants, we are always partners in the national building. We do our job with all lot of care and caution, but it is not only that we do, we need to also prove that we are doing it with a qualitative manner. At times when there is a question on the work done by a chartered accountant, we may not be in a position to substantiate that what we have done. Actually, we might have done much more than what is expected, but in terms of proving, in terms of ensuring that the quality is being maintained, at times we may not be in a position to do. So in order to remove certain gaps and to enhance the quality, this is a very wonderful initiative of our institute to bring in something about called as audit quality maturity model, wherein there will also be a mechanism to improvise on the self self-evaluation matrix. Basically, this is a self-evaluation matrix in order to evaluate where we stand. A very good introspective activity that is taken up by the institute by way of introducing this AQMM. Let us go and understand for another 2 hours or 3 hours. We are going to discuss about and deliberate about it. And also, in order to be more practical and in order to be more ensuring that we are in the right level of requirements in the current demanding situation, we are trying to link with this particular audit quality maturity model with peer review also. There is an interlink, there is an inevitable link between the peer review and the audit quality maturity model. Let us go and understand what is this, why peer review is essential to whether for me, whether peer review will be applicable or not, whether for me AQMM will be applicable or not. If at all it is applicable, what I have to do. If at all it is not applicable, why it is relevant for me to go for understanding this. Like that, we will try to address these important scenarios in our present practice. I hope my audio, video, and as well as my presentation is visible. In case of any gaps in the communication, do let me know. Thank you, Pramod sir, for confirmation. Because I'm staying outside, there are a little bit of internet issues also. So in case of any problem, do let me know so that we may be in a position to correct myself. My presentation is going to be on the way in which we are moving. We will be introducing about AQMM and we'll be understanding about peer review and its impact also. Whatever the questions that you may have, which may be very relevant for your understanding, please hold it back. At the end of this particular session, we may also have a question and answer session, so that at that point of time, we may be in a position to address all your queries in case of anything to be deliberated further. Let me move on to my presentation, dear learned members. There is something called as financial reporting ecosystem. Basically, there is a wonderful ecosystem that is a vicious cycle also that it operates, wherein auditors, being a chartered accountants, being external auditors, we play a very important role in this particular financial reporting ecosystem. What is the role? What is this financial reporting ecosystem parameters are? Financial reporting ecosystem is nothing but the way in which financial statements are being presented to the people, where the entity and its management are the one who actually prepares it, and they are very much interested on this particular financial reporting ecosystem. And also it is overseen by those charged with governance. We always call with those charged with governance, say for example, the board of directors, the audit committee members who actually oversee this particular financial statements, and an integral part that is played by us being external auditors, statutory auditors of these entities, where we report on the financial statements of these entities with regard to their truth and fairness, and with regard to the complaints with regard to the financial reporting framework. The moment we give this particular assurance, the moment we give that the financial statement reflects true and fair view, there is a huge responsibility that is casted on us in order to substantiate that our claim. Also, the reliance that is placed on these financial statements based on my certification is something enormous, wherein entire economy is depending on this particular assurance activity, that what I do actually. So there is a huge reliance that is placed on my signature. Parallelly, equally, there is also a responsibility that is casted to the signature. So always, as a matter, as an expectation, that people always expect that my audit assurance service, that what I provide, is always with a quality, is always with independence, is always with integrity. That is all the basic components of my chartered accountancy profession holding certificate of practice. So the institute concern is how to ensure quality in the way in which the chartered accountants perform, so that automatically in their working activity by itself, if the quality aspects have been inbuilt, obviously the delivery will be wonderful, is what the thought process. So they try to mix it, they try to blend this particular quality aspects in the way in which we function by itself. So because of this particular assurance that we provide, the government and the regulators are also satisfied. They believe on these financial statements. The income tax assessment is happening on this. The GST or the company's requirements, compliances, all are based on my financials that I certified based on the financial statements. And the various stakeholders, including the investors, are getting satisfied based on the certification provided by the auditors here. So this financial reporting ecosystem mandates this chartered accountant to always ensure the quality, which is the highest quality that is expected from him. But the point is, there is also gaps. There is something called as audit expectation gap. In today's global scenario, this particular term has been discussed very wide. Audit expectation gap. What is basically this audit expectation gap is? People usually think what auditors required to do and what actually auditors do is what something called as audit expectation gap is what that people give a definition, but that is not so. There are different components of this particular audit expectation gap. Audit expectation gap is basically divided into three components. One is something called as knowledge gap. The other one is something called as performance gap. And the third one is something called as evolution gap. So there are three gaps all put together, which creates this particular audit expectation gap. So what is this knowledge gap? Is it the lack of knowledge of the auditor that we are talking about knowledge gap? The answer is no. That is not the one that we are talking about. The knowledge gap is what people think that the auditor will be doing vis-a-vis what is actually auditor is expected to be done is what something called as knowledge gap is. Say, for example, a stakeholder may think that the auditor may compute the numbers, may prepare the financials, and then he may certify the financials like that. He may think, but actually it is not the responsibility of the auditor. Similarly, a user may think that the auditor will be here to detect all the frauds and errors in the financial statement. He may think that it will be the role of the auditor, but actually the role of auditor is absolutely different and not on those lines. So there is something called as knowledge gap, that the people's understanding about the role and responsibilities of the auditor are to be understood in a proper way. That is to be taken care. There is something called as knowledge gap here. The difference between what public thinks the auditor do and what actually auditor is expected to be done based on legal and regulatory requirement would be called as knowledge gap. Nowhere as an auditor I am associated in this regard. That's why in order to fill this particular knowledge gap, in the auditor's report itself, I clearly present what is the responsibility of the auditor, what are all the responsibilities of the management and those charged with governance, like that, what is the scope of my work, what are all the limitations in audit, like that we put everything very clearly so that this knowledge gap is tried to be reduced here. This is the first part of the audit expectation gap. The second part is very crucial, something called as performance gap. Here where the role of the auditor comes into. Performance gap is the attribute of auditors do not do what auditing standards or the regulations or the legal and regulatory requirements applicable require from the auditor here. Say, for example, I have to take reasonable care and caution. I may not be in a position to do that. I may be grossly negligent in performing, or there are certain specific reporting responsibilities on the auditor. I might have not verified on those, and then, but I may try to give an answer. For an example, with regard to a CARO reporting, there is a specific question whether title deeds of immovable property have been in the name of the company or not. So here there is a specific expectation from the auditor to go in to look into the title deeds of the immovable properties, whether is it in the name of the company only or is it in the name of promoters or directors or certain other name. In that particular case, I need to give the details and all. So there is an expectation that I need to go and verify and specifically verify these aspects. But at times I may overlook this and then I may say, yes, there are all are there the name of the company like that. I may provide a data here that may be factually wrong. This is what exactly something called as performance gap. What auditors do not do that the standards on auditing require or legal and regulatory requirements require for. This is the area we need to really look into. What is my standards that they want? Say, for example, my SA 210 wants that I need to go for an engagement. I need to go for external confirmation. I need to go for an audit evidence. I need to use the work done by others. I can take the use of an internal auditor like that. Multiple standards on auditing talks about different parameters, including the laws and regulations that may be applicable to that entity with regard to their non-compliance, the so-called no-CLAR that we are talking about. Like that, there are various requirements that the institute or the standards or the regulators wants the auditor to perform, but the auditor may not be in a position to perform because of lack of knowledge, because of lack of time, or because of lack of clarity. Like that, what may be the reason? There is a gap. That is what that we need to address necessarily. That is where the quality may be under stake. So that is what exactly that we need to address. That there is something called as performance gap. And lastly, we have something called as evolution gap, where the technological changes that is happening on a day-to-day basis. Some 10 years or 15 years back, whatever the way in which I've done an audit is not the case of today. Because today predominantly it is system oriented, system directed. My audit evidences, the way in which I perform the audit has gone for a substantial change. Even under COVID times, you may be aware that say, for example, in case of a bank audit, even without visiting a bank, we would have been in a position to complete the bank audit with the help of technology and all. So nowadays there are huge technological upgradations that is happening. auditors' understanding and auditors' embracement of that particular technology, and the way in which I have to modify my nature, timing, and extent of audit procedures based on such technology usage is something called as evolution gap. So the second one and the third one are the area really that we need to focus on, we need to develop, and we need to improvise. Specifically on the second one with regard to the performance gap. Evolution gap over a period of time, automatically it may happen. But yeah, but performance gap is what exactly that could be real issues that we need to improvise is what the audit expectation gap is all about. Since this audit expectation gap cannot be eliminated, we need to try to reduce it to an acceptable low level is what the global level that they work for, including the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So in order to go in to address on this qualitative aspects, Institute has come out with a wonderful initiative called Audit Quality Maturity Model. This is what something called as AQMM, Audit Quality Maturity Model. What does it really talks about? How my firm is matured enough to ensure the quality in the way in which I do my audits is what the objective of audit quality maturity model. Are you matured enough to handle the audits with all the quality that is expected? In order to say that, yes, I am having that maturity to have the audits. So do answer these questions and you evaluate, you yourself evaluate and you give a marking to you. So where you are standing. Are you having this point? Are you having this particular manner? Are you having this particular procedure? Yes, yes, yes. If it is yes, then you have 5 marks. You have no, then there is a 0 mark like that. It is a self-evaluation matrix that is originally developed by the institute in order to have the quality so that I may be in a position to go for a self-retrospection. It is a diagnostic model that actually what we operate so that we can understand what is our parameter level, where we need to really focus on. Okay, these are all the areas that I need to focus. These are all the areas that I have to improvise. So there is something called as EEE. Triple E is what the role of AQMM as well as the peer review here is. First one is we will be going for enhancement of the quality, and we also go in for ensuring that particular aspects are continuously followed, and automatically there will be something called as enrichment. So you have triple E that is into place, enhancement of quality, and then you also ensure that it is there, ensure of that particular quality model, and you always go for enrichment of your practice so that to the external people, the way in which you perform, the brand that is being done as a chartered accountant will be something extraordinary. So this audit quality maturity model originally when they have issued by CAQ. What is the CAQ again? There is something called the Center for Audit Quality, which is a wing of ICAI. There is a separate directorate. There is a board which talks about Center for Audit Quality, where they have developed this particular audit quality maturity model here. Originally, they have issued AQMM, but they have also identified certain points to be included. So they have gone out with a revised version, revision 1.0. And then there is a possibility of 2.0, 3.0, like that. There may be upgradations that may happen over a period of time. So as of now, we are in 1.0 model with regard to audit quality maturity model here. How it works? As I told you, there are, as a part of your capacity building, because being a Indian chartered accountants, when you compare with international accountants or when you compare with global accounting firms, the so-called big 4, big 5, big 6, like that, at times we may not be in a position to gear up to the scale that is expected from the market. So as a capacity building measure, the institute is trying to uphold the handhold activity for the Indian firms so that they also develop and they may be in a position to do one world-class reporting possibility or world-class attestation function that could be possible. So as a capacity building measure, they go for this particular self-evaluation matrix, and then they identify the areas where there is an improvement that may be really required, and then you will be focusing on that particular area so that I may be having a self-sustainable model is what the agenda about audit quality maturity model here. Sir, how the self-evaluation matrix work? What will happen if it is everything is yes, 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 I put yes, 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 and give 100 out of 100 marks? Nothing will happen. It's all really how you are addressing to a diagnostic aspect. Are you really interested in improvising your firm's quality? You may be a single practitioner, or you may be a global multi-level firms, or you may have a mediocre firms, whatever may be the case. You have 3 partners, 4 partners, or 5 partners, like that. We may have a slightly larger segment, or I may be a single practitioner. All that particular requirement is required is, are you interested in improving your quality is what the question. You touch your heart and then tell, yes, sir, I want to increase. Yes, sir, I want to enhance. Then you can go in for audit quality maturity model. Otherwise, it's just a piece of paper. You may say everything yes, you may put 100 out of 100. You may satisfy with, I got 100 out of 100. That is of no use. So really, we need to, are we interested in ensuring the quality? We are already doing that particular qualitative activity, but are we really interested in improvising myself? Because any external party may not come and evaluate. Internally, we may be in a position to do with this particular help of audit quality maturity model here. The sole objective, the overall objective is nothing but to enhance the audit quality. Sir, what you keep on talking about enhancing the quality? Why there is a quality aspect? Because there are a lot of gaps that they identify. We have a lot of verification mechanism like a peer review. We have a verification mechanism called QRB, Quality Review Board. We also have a verification mechanism called FRRB, Financial Reporting Review Board. We also have an external verification mechanism called NAFRA, where all these people keep on tries to understand and verify how evaluate how good you are in quality, how good you are maintaining the systems, how practice unit is automatically interdependent, and then they do activities like that. There are a lot of evaluation criteria wherein they identify that there is a improvement area that is required. Definitely there are improvements that are required is what the identification. So in order to improvise on this, we have this initial step by way of audit quality maturity model here. The use is dependent on the quality to have confidence on the financial statements. Definitely as a part of national building, the moment there is a, say for example, there is a failure in an audit, there is a fraud in a financial statement which was not identified by the auditor, I have given a clean opinion, but later on due to certain investigation or government identification, they find that the financial statements are wrongly stated. The first question will not be even to the management of that particular company. There'll not be a first question to the board of directors or the audit committee. The first question will be to the auditors. What auditors were doing? Why they were not in a position to identify this? Then the auditors was negligent. The point is, it will not only affect that particular firm which did the audit, it will affect the entire fraternity. That's what that we have seen in the past. Entire fraternity, they will just like that come to a conclusion, all the auditors are like this. They may not be in a position to do the activity like that. It will be having a huge impact, huge blow on the entire professional fraternity here. So we want to necessarily ensure the quality which creates the confidence on this particular users is what the sole agenda here. Audit quality is a complex matter only. It's not very easily to define and not based on a formula. Since it is a complex matter, we need to go and gradually improvise on that is what the next agenda here. The audit quality should be improved at the engagement level, and thereby the firm's level, and thereby at the national level. So we start at engagement level. For this particular audit, am I having qualitative aspects? The moment I am having this at engagement level, automatically at firm's level, it will be converted. So whatever the audits that this particular firm is doing, ABC and Co is doing, everything will be with quality like that. They may have the interpretation, and then it may be referring back to the entire fraternity also at national level also. So start with the firm's level, start with the engagement level, goes and expand it to the firm's level. At the firm's level, evaluating it is something called as AQMM here, audit quality maturity model. We have areas like compliance with laws and regulations that is expected in doing an audit. We have compliance with the firm's SQC policy. There is something called as standards on quality control, SQC. Quality control, they again focus on this particular quality. SQC1 is basically mandatorily applicable to all the practicing units, whether you are an individual or you are a multi-level firm. So standards on quality control, are you having the quality control policies? Whether your policies are effectively implemented, whether your policies are consistently being followed or not, like that there are evaluation mechanism here. So SQC plays a very, very vital role. And appropriate reporting and all, are you making it? Are you making a compliance with legal and regulatory requirements? Dear members, it's very sorry to say, being a peer reviewer at times, when we go for a verification, there are even audit reports that are under the old reporting format, not under the revised CA 700 format. Even the face of the audit report is something wrong. I am not blaming the entire fraternity here. There are people where they may not even understand the implications. They may just give the previous year format reporting and even the SA 700, which got changed for last 3 to 4 years, still they use the old reporting formats and all. These are all something pain. These are all really a pain. So we need to go for appropriate reporting, whatever the applicable reporting responsibilities are applicable, or not CARO reporting or internal controls or financial reporting like that. There are various responsibility, including Companies Act reporting responsibilities, 143.3, 143 12 reporting responsibilities and all are taken care or not shall be examined, and it is to be ensured automatically. There is no someone to come and push this particular activity. My firm's policies and procedures by itself should automatically enable me to go for compliance of this particular appropriate reporting, and thereby ethical team behavior is also to be maintained. So these are all the important pillars that will be examined. So are you having mechanism to comply with the law? Are you having mechanism to comply with appropriate reporting? Are you having compliance with regard to SQC policy? Whether your team is building an ethical way of functioning, are they independent? Are they trustworthy? Like that, the different parts of the audit process will be examined through this particular audit quality maturity model. Let me go in for the interlink between the audit quality maturity model with the peer review. That is considered to be the most important one in today's topic. It's very, very live. Please understand, peer review is no longer a voluntary activity. If I want, I need to have a peer review. No, that's not the case. Slowly, institute makes it mandatory for every firm to comply with the peer review bracket. At least there will be a reviewer who may be coming and evaluating where we stand, what are all the deficiencies, what are all the areas that we need to implement, like that. They may be in a position to go in for the review here. So that's why we have a mandatory peer review in place. Our peer review mandate already for listed entities. In order to have an audit of a listed entities, you should have been already holding a valid peer review certificate. Then only as per LODR regulations, you can be appointed as an auditor of a listed entity. That is already there, no problem for it. So I want to take up a listed company audit. Then I need to, in order to be eligible for that, I need to necessarily have a valid peer review certificate. No, sir, I don't want listed entities and all. I'll just do with private limited, public limited companies, trust, this, that, and all. I don't want to go for a higher scale. For me, no requirement for me to go for a mandatory peer review like that. People were there. So institute thought that that is also an important area which is to be addressed. Minimum qualitative aspects to be implemented. So they mandated something for practicing units, PUs that we call, having 5 or more partners. So it is including 5. So 5 or more partners from 1/4/2023. If at all you want to accept an audit engagement, you should have mandatorily peer reviewed your firm. Then only you can accept an engagement, is what the original mandate that is given by the peer review board, by the council also. However, due to practical difficulties and to implementation challenges, they have also postponed this particular date to another 3 months' time. So from 1/7/2023 onwards, if at all I am a firm having 5 or more partners, say for example 5 partners, or say for example 6 partners, 7 partners, in spite of the fact that I don't do any listed company audit, any attest function that I do, sir, I do only internal audits. Yes, that is also covered. I do only bank concurrent audits, sir. Yes, it will also be getting covered. The moment you do any sort of attest function, you need to go for a necessary mandatory peer review. That is a valid certificate should be valid in order to accept an statutory audit assignment here. So that's a mandatory requirement. So now the point is, since it is an extended timeline is available. So now, say for example, we are in the month of April, we have May and June, only 2 months available. So that those who are falling under this particular bracket, say for example, 5 or more partners, needs to necessarily get themselves peer reviewed. So they need to prepare, they need to gear up. Lot of homework has to be done. It is not as easy as we thought thinking about. There are a lot of data, there are a lot of homework has to be done with regard to the preparation for the peer review. The once you are ready, you may be going for an application and the peer review process can be triggered here. This is for this particular year. From this next year, 1/4/2024 onwards, say for example, PUs having 4 or more partners. So they slowly try to expand, and in a phased manner, they are trying to implement mandatorily for everybody. From 25, another 2 years down the lane, for practicing a firm having 3 or more partners will also be required to go for a mandatory peer review. So at times what happens is, sometimes someone pushes you, then only that initiative will happen. So necessarily it's a very good initiative by the institute, though it may be painstaking. but it will be good activity the moment you go for a peer review process here. The point I am driving here with the peer review with the AQMM is, the moment the peer review is applicable, there is also a part of AQMM with regard to peer review that we will try to understand what it is. Why peer review, sir? I'm already doing an audit. Sorry. So far, no problem in this audit, nothing, no complaint was there made by anybody else. Then why I need to be reviewed? It is prevention is better than something about curing it. So as a preventive activity, as a firm, are you having the systems and processes to be evaluated by the way of peer review here? Based on the peer review guidelines 2022, the definition is made very comprehensive. The peer review is examination and the review of systems and procedures of the practicing unit. What are all the systems that you have? What are all the procedures that you have? Systems in the sense, not we are talking about the computer systems. The way in which you adopt, the way in which you accept an audit, the way in which you perform an audit is what that we are talking about. A review of systems and procedures of the practicing unit. Why I have to examine this particular item? To determine whether they are really in place. Whether are you having systems and process in place? Is it a person dependent or is it a system dependent? It should never be a person dependent activity. Any process should be a system dependent activity. So whether they are really in place and whether they were consistently applied during the period under review. So it is not only they have something in place, but it is to be consistently applied also. That's also something very, very important. That's why the peer review period usually will be for 3 preceding financial years. So 3 preceding financial years will be a very wonderful yardstick to evaluate what all the systems and procedures and process are there implemented in your PU, whether it has been followed consistently or not. Is there an area where you require improvements? Or are you complying with technical, professional, ethical standards, legal and regulatory requirements or not? Shall be examined by this particular peer reviewer. Why they have to do this and why? What is the purpose? The purpose is to ensure quality with regard to assurance services. Another important term that we are discussing is about assurance services. The peer review scope by itself covers only relating to activities of assurance services, and the related services like due diligence or something about say for example, an independent opinion that is given for a particular activity and all will not be covered, which will be covered under related services here. What is covered under peer review is only assurance services that is getting covered as envisaged by technical, professional and ethical standard and including AQMM. That's what the relevance is. Including AQMM, audit quality maturity model wherever applicable or other regulatory requirements. The purpose is to identify weaknesses in engagements rather than failure in engagements. Is there anything, something chronic weakness, something significant weakness is there? That is to be evaluated by the peer reviewer and not one-off event and all will not be the purpose of verification here. So audit quality maturity model is there interlinked with the peer review definition by itself, an unit which is for which AQMM will be applicable mandatorily. Then the peer reviewer will also go for AQMM review also. Even though as on today, the AQMM will be of a self-evaluation mechanism. Whenever peer review is mandated for certain entities, it's not for all entities. For certain entities, the peer reviewer himself will also evaluate the AQMM. The scoring that is made by the PU, whether is it appropriate or not, shall be examined, and the differences, if any, to be reported to the peer review board. So mandatorily, as a qualitative aspects, peer review and AQMM go hand in hand. So the processes, we need to enable ourselves. We need to first of all evaluate whether peer review is applicable for us. Then we need to necessarily prepare for peer review. Assuming that peer review is not applicable for us, no problem. Wonderful. There is no mandatory requirement for you to go for preparation of peer review, but still assume as if peer review will be applicable to you. Try to evaluate where we stand. Try to take the AQMM and then put the marks where we stand so that our own evaluation process will be done in the course of the further learning aspects here. The objective of peer review, as I have told you, is not to find out deficiencies, but to improve the quality, not to identify isolated cases of weaknesses, not to sit on the judgment of the PU. So say, for example, in a case, the engagement partner has decided like that, then it will not be questioned why you have decided like that will not be the question of the peer reviewer. For whatever the justification that you have made, are you having proper documentation? Are you substantiating your stand with the audit evidences? Like that, the peer reviewer will go for enhancing the quality by way of evaluating whether your stand taken by the practicing unit is appropriate or not, will be examined by the peer review here. There are, as I told you, the scope of peer review will comply only with assurance services, not anything else. The focus of peer review will be on technical, professional, ethical standards. What is this technical, ethical, professional standards? The technical, professional, ethical standards is nothing but my standards on auditing, my accounting standards, my code of ethics, and all will be falling under technical, professional, ethical standards. The quality of reporting, the office systems and procedures. Am I having an office system and procedure? Am I training my engagement team? Am I training my articled assistants? Am I giving a proper direction to them? How I am recruiting? How I am providing the knowledge resource? All these are all process that will be examined in the peer review. Parallelly, all these are also be part of evaluation by the AQMM also. So your quality of reporting, compliance with technical and professional ethical standards, office systems and procedures, training program for staff, all these are all the areas where the AQMM will also address. All these areas wherein peer review will also address. All these areas will be also addressed in SQC1. Standards on quality control will also address on these particular areas, so that I always maintain the quality. So it's all synced. It is not something different lines. It is all parallel lines that is drawn up between SQC, between peer review, and also with AQMM here. So the moment I'm in a position to comply one thing, automatically there will be multiple effects that will cast it on. So understanding of this and understanding of the relationship between all this is considered to be very essential in compliance here. These are all the usual weaknesses that are identified during the course of peer review. During the various levels in the peer review, they have identified that audit documentation is not proper, which is considered to be the most important rudimentary elements of an audit. No practice manual or a quality review manual maintained by the practice unit. They don't have it. Even management's representation letter not taken. At times, we believe on the management and then we phase on it, we complete the audit and then sign off. Later point of time only we realize that we have not obtained any management information explanations, because in our audit itself we say based on the information explanations provided to the auditor, but there is no information or explanations officially we got from the management. During the course of our audit, my team interacts with them, they provide certain answer, on based on that we go proceed further, but there is no written documentation that is available. That's considered to be very relevant. Written documentation and a representation from the management is considered to be very relevant. In the absence of it, we are not doing our audit as per the standards on auditing here. Management's representation letter not taken, written communication to those charged with governance are not issued. Say for example, SA 701 today talks about key audit matters. What is this key audit matter? Out of the matters that I have communicated to the management, which is of most significant, that I am reporting back to the shareholders also. It is not nothing, it is not something wrong that I am reporting. It's not a qualification that I am making, but something of a complex matter that I feel during the course of my audit, which is to be reported to the management, which is to be reported back to the shareholders also, that I need to present it as a key audit matter in my audit report itself. So there are aspects where there are communications to be made to the management, but which is not made, which is non-compliance of a standards on auditing, that is also identified. Many a times we communicate to the management, but we don't document that we have communicated. We might have orally communicated during a course of meeting. We would have arranged a meeting and then we would have communicated all this, but it is to be copied. It is to be decoded through my minutes of the meeting. Many a times that we don't do that, that is the problem that is coming back to the auditor at a later point of time. Technical standards not followed, like standards on auditing. Various standards on auditing are there which are not followed, and all are a common complaints on the practicing unit that you don't do that. There are other complaints also there, but these are all the predominant major complaints that is made to the practicing unit. So what I have to do as a practicing unit, I may have, yes, I know that management representation letters not taken, engagement letters are not taken, or practice quality manual is not maintained. All these are all there in my firm. So how to upgrade myself, how to improvise on my quality. When someone comes and verifies, let me throw these particular papers on them. so that they let them verify whatever that is they want. So that sort of mechanism that is to be implemented. For that, this AQMM and peer review will really help the practicing units to go for reaching that particular level here. Even in the peer review report, the report to be provided by the peer reviewer, as a part of the final report, Annexure 3, there are different annexures to be provided, a final report to be given, saying that the peer review has been done and it is the practicing unit is having the systems and process which is in compliance with the legal and regulatory requirements. Like that, I may give for clean opinion, and also I may go for a qualified opinion that the practice unit doesn't have these systems and policies and procedures like that. And apart from it, I need to also provide certain annexures and data to the PRB, wherein Annexure 3 specifically talks about AQMM, which is a self-assessment by the PU and assessment by PR for a total of 600 marks. What is the marks that PR allocates? What is the mark that is allocated by the PU? Like that, there are data to be provided by the peer reviewer at the time of peer review here. So there is always, I keep on insist upon an emphasis on this particular fact that the peer review and audit quality maturity model are interlinked, intertwined in such a way that it is go in a hand-to-hand on a parallel basis to handhold the right practices and policies are implemented at the firm's level, whether it is an individual or whether it's a multi-level firm, to ensure the quality. This has been done here, which is a very, very cautious and very, very wonderful initiative that is taken up by the institute. That's why the AQMM model by itself is a collaborative approach by the CAQ and peer review board. CAQ talks about AQMM, peer review board talks about peer review, and it is a collaborative approach for testing the quality and the standards of this particular practicing unit. They go for a collaborative approach here in this particular AQMM version 1, V1.0 here, AQMM developed by Center for Audit Quality. Let us understand, sir, for whom this particular AQMM is first of all applicable. We have took the understanding about the peer review applicable, to whom it is applicable, someone for mandatory. For others, say for example, I'm having only 3 partners, sir. I want to go for a mandatory, I want to go for a peer review for my firm. Is it possible? Yes, it is a voluntary application that you can make it. Definitely it is possible. But however, for those firms, for say for example, 5 or more partners, mandatory peer review here. Like that, we have seen the applicability of mandatory peer review. Let us go and understand applicability of AQMM, which is mandatory onwards. Originally, it was issued in June 2021 itself. They have given a full 1 year period, or even a 2 years period for us to go and adopt and approach. Again, it is going to be implemented in a phased manner, similar to that of your peer review. This particular AQMM will be recommendatory. First, originally, it was for 1 year, it was recommendatory only. And later on, after a point that is to be fixed by the Center Council, it will be made mandatory here. Like that, they have also made for certain people, it is mandatory. For whom it is mandatory, AQMM will apply to firms auditing the following entities. Say, a listed entity. For that, AQMM is mandatory. Or a banks, the moment a firm is going to do an audit of a bank, other than a cooperative bank, then for that particular firm, it is applicable. Sir, bank means what this particular bank that you are talking about? Are you talking about bank branch, or are you talking about central statutory auditors of a bank? Please understand, the AQMM mandatory applicability will be for those who are doing as a central statutory auditor of a banking company or an insurance company. Only if at all I'm doing a firm, I'm going to do a branch audit, statutory branch audit of a bank or an insurance company, then it is not mandatory. It is recommendatory here. Our firms doing only branch audits are not covered in this case. So for these people, it will be mandatory. AQMM would apply to firm auditing the above mentioned entities. It is recommendatory for a year, and after a particular year, council will review and then they make it mandatory. So it is mandatory from 1/4/2023 onwards. All these entities needs to go for a mandatory AQMM. For others, for other firms, it is voluntary in nature. You can do a self retrospective evaluation, and then you can go for this particular AQMM here. Say for example, it is mandatory for me, sir. Then what I will be doing? What is the benefit of doing a AQMM? As I told you, it's a self-evaluation mechanism. I will be providing marks. And then I have been categorized into level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 forms, which will be displayed in the institute's website. So it will be a brand building activity that may be doing it. And even to my service recipients, this will be a matter of a proud here. The firm's audit quality maturity ranking will be based on the marks that is allocated. They have divided into 3 broad categories as we are seeing it. Practice managements with regard to operation, they allot 280 marks for the firm. Human resource management, HR, how I am going to manage, how I am managing my resources, how I am enabling my resources to do an appropriate attest function, they allot somewhere around 240 marks. And the practice management with regard to strategic and functional areas, that they are allocating some 80 marks only. So totally there are about 600 marks. Out of 600, assuming that I'm getting 25% in each section only, I will be in a level 1 firm, which is very, very basic level. I'll be assuming that I'm securing marks of 25% to 50%. I will be treated as level 2 firm. 50% to 75%, I will be treated as level 3 firm. And above 75% in each of this particular section, all are cumulatively that I need to secure. Assuming that I'm securing this particular marks, I will be considered as a level 4, which is considered to be a very, very saturated or very, very matured firm. The moment I am in a level 1 firm, your maturity model doesn't permit you. You need to go for a lot of working. You need to go for a lot of area. You need to improvise. What are the area I need to improvise? You yourself have rank card with you. Go and identify which subjects you are poor. You go tuition for that particular subject is what the prescription given by the AQMM here. So I will try to go and fit in somewhere around level 2. Okay, very good. I'm at least in level 2. Let me try to push on for level 3. I'm in level 3, which is wonderful, very good. If at all really based on your real evaluation, you are in level 3, it's something superb, but still try to pursue further and then to go and end up in level 4. Sir, already I'm in level 4 entity. We do pakka. Everything is there with me. Excellent. Try to retain the same. Don't go fall prey for the next level like that. There are ranking mechanism that is also given based on the marks that is on each section that you are going to obtain. So this is what the AQMM matrix, where strategic points, it's a top level for which you will be provided with 80 marks, and human resource management will be for 240 marks, and for practicing management, including operations, you will be getting with 280 points. So totally out of 600 points, where I am placing, where I am getting is what the core objective of this particular AQMM. The speciality of this particular AQMM is it is something about a cross-functional model. It not only focuses on standards, it not only focuses on accounting aspects, it not only focuses on review reporting aspects, it focuses on multi-level aspects that are applicable for a firm level. Say, for example, it applies for systems and procedures and process. Are you having it? It applies for the engagement team, how you are selecting the engagement team, how you are, first of all, recruiting your engagement team, and how you are training. Are you having a blend of experienced and non-experienced criteria like that? They go for evaluating the engagement team, with which I will be doing an audit, because please understand, my engagement team is a very, very key factor for my success and quality in my audit. My engagement team has been enabled, and then they do an informed verification. Their verification will be wonderful. On the other hand, without knowing what is to be done, and then you are just like that trying to push them for audit, then it will automatically hamper the quality which is expected from the firm here. The firm's leadership, that's something about usually people used to call something on tone at the top. So how leadership responsibilities are taken? Who is taking the leadership responsibilities for the quality? Entirely it is discussed in SQC1. It's actually a replica of SQC1 only. In SQC1, it talks about leadership responsibilities, who is getting with, and who will be responsible for ensuring independence, who will be responsible for ethical compliance, who will be responsible for quality. Like that, there are multiple leadership responsibilities, including engagement-wise leadership responsibility. Engagement leadership will be taken up by the engagement partner. However, firm's leadership responsibilities, are you having it, is also a part of discussion under AQMM. HR and admin related aspects, how you are maintaining the HR, how you are going for admin related activities, how incentives are being paid to your staff, Are you recognizing your staff? Are you recognizing your articled assistants? Are you paying incentives like that? There are human resource related aspects are also discussed in the AQMM. More importantly, IT help desk and then IT tools that you are using in your audits here. Because sometime back, we have seen that the expectation gap, audit expectation gap, something on the evolution gap also. It talks about all the three items. One is knowledge gap, performance gap, and evolution gap. So that evolution gap should not be very substantial. So in order to reduce that particular gap, this IT help desk and IT tools, how good you are in information systems and technology, how you are using your technology for your audit process and verification methodology and all will be part of your questions in AQMM. And last but not least, legal and networking, legal consulting and networking consultations, how your firm is good at. Are you having a panel of resources wherein in case of any emergency or in case of any doubts, a technical issue or an interpretation issue, that are you consulting with the appropriate consultant or not, experts that you are going to have with your panel or not, like that? The effectiveness or the maturity of this particular firm is being evaluated through this particular AQMM here. Originally, when you try to implement, it may look like something difficult or something theoretical. Please don't look at it as a theoretical one. It's not theoretical. It's absolutely practical. We have implemented, we have tried to implement it in a firm. They have very really appreciated this particular concept. They have applied it also in their practice. Now they find it very, very easy to penetrate. The navigation between one area to another area will be very, very easy the moment you identify what are all the lacunas where we need to go for improvements in this particular AQMM here. So let us take up the first activity of practice management operations. In practice management, specifically being a practicing chartered accountant or a firm, the operational area wherein 280 marks, 80 points, basis points have been given. Maximum scores that can be taken up is 280. Out of which, as you can see, the predominant 80 points is from quality control. I go with SQC. If you have SQC, that particular 80 points can be obtained. If you don't have SQC, then there will be 0 marks that will be obtained. So I need to go for the predominant, those which are marked under red color are considered to be important and relevant for me to secure points and also to develop my areas of operations here. So say, for example, your workflow with regard to practice manuals, which will be 16 points, quality review manuals and audit tools that you are going to use it in your audit engagement, then there is 24 points. Where you have technology adoption, then you have 64 points like that. There are huge points that are available so that in 280 that you may be in a position to obtain it. There are few areas where I may not have that particular plans implemented. Say, for example, revenue, budgeting and pricing. As per AQMM, even for a quality control mechanism, are you having a budget session? Are you evaluating what is the time and cost involved for an audit, particular audit, before even you accept it and take up an audit? Are you prioritizing? Are your plans are based on the number of hours that you are going to spend? Something which is considered to be very theoretical. Sir, practically in an audit, how it happens? The client comes and approaches, very good. We take up the audit, we try to implement, we try to understand, and then we try to send our team, get it completed, and then get billed. Receiving that particular bill, big $1 million question that I'm not going into part of it. But the point is how you are billing. Are you making a budget? And there is also a minimum recommendatory fees by institute. My fee should not be less than that particular minimum recommendatory fees. So it should compensate my time and energy that is involved on that particular client also. Are you having a methodology to go for a billing of a particular client? What is the human hours that is being spent? What is the partner's hour? What is the qualified assistance, non-qualified assistance? Like that, are you having a time target and then are you doing this particular audit and billing accordingly? Predominantly, no. Many firms that as I have seen, that they may not have this particular practice, but still there are certain saturated firms that they have this practice. They will put the reasons for such deviations. So in this particular case, something that I don't have it, let me put 0 marks, no problem. Then what I have to do, I need to try to improvise on that area. So how to bill, first of all, how to go for a plan, that may be a template, There may be a calculation, first of all, to go in for how many number of hours that I may be spending on that particular audit. Like that, I will be focusing on those areas where I don't have that particular positioning at all, or those areas where I don't have marks on that particular area. I need to try to improvise is what the criteria. The entire objective is to go for an improvisation. Since it's a self-evaluation, you try to identify the weakness, give medicines for that particular weakness. That's it, over. Let us move on to the second broad category, that is something about human resource management, wherein 240 total points, out of which 104, nearly about 50% of the marks is towards resources turnover and compensation management. How effectively you are retaining your audit staff, how effectively you are retaining your engagement team is what the core area. How you are compensating them, what is the parameter that on which you are compensating them? Is there something about an incentive for every good audit that you are providing? Like that, the resource management and their compensation management assumes a huge significance in this. There is also resource planning and monitoring as per SQC is also for 28 marks. Other qualification skill set, performance evaluation skill set and all will be for another 22, 32 marks here. That is totally for 240 marks. And the last area, which is for an 80 marks out of 240 to 80, and this is 80, something about practice management. Practice management assumes only 20 marks of weightage. Infrastructure, physical and others assumes another 48 marks. So again, nearly 50% of this particular area is contributed towards infrastructure. What is that, the infrastructure that we are talking about? Are you having computer systems? Are you having softwares? Are you having servers through which the data flow is there? Are you having resources that is provided to my team so that they may be in a position to refer and then to proceed further? The infrastructure management is what something that we look into. So considering the size and nature and complexities involved, that I need to go for infrastructure, and then I need to go for providing marks also. So these are all the three broad categories for which the marks has to be provided for. Let me move on to the implementation model. Sir, the audit quality maturity model, once they have given this particular model, they have also parallelly gone for implementation guide also. They have provided one small implementation guide, how it can be practically implemented in a firm. So what is the question? How you have to go for an answer, how you can secure your marks is what the guidance that is provided in this particular implementation guide. Let us take up one by one. Not all the questions, certain few important aspects. So totally for 600 marks, there are multiple number of questions that is there available. But also how certain important areas, what are all the questions that I need to look into. It's a very easy task for you. You can just go through the questions, give answers. That's it. So simple. But there are certain nuances also that they have imbibed here. Let us go and understand what is that and how we can secure good mark, or where we need to go for improvisation is what the portion. Revenue, first question with regard to the practice management, especially on operations area. Revenue from audit and assurance services, what is the component? What is the percentage of your revenue? Minimum revenue of 50% of the total revenue from audit and assurance service is considered as specialization in that particular audit and assurance service. That should be our core area when consistently witnessed for a period of 3 years. So there is also a diversification that could be possible. Sir, I deal only with GST audits. I deal only with consultations. We deal only with due diligences. We deal only with forensic audit. Say, for example, today there is something called the sustainability reporting. We do take care of that particular sustainability reporting. Like that, you may have a specialization area, but the point is audit and attest function, are you getting minimum of 50% of your points will be given? If no, then 0 points will be given. So state either 4 or 0. It is not that I can end up with 3 marks, 2 marks and all. Either go with 4 or go with 0 is what the position here. You have tax audit, statutory audit, revenue earned from assurance related services are something to be noted here, which will be considered as an important one. Again, there is also a concentration that is discussed here with regard to peer review also. Say, for example, out of my total revenue from audit and attest function, some 20% is from particular group. Say, for example, my total billing is 50 lakhs. Out of my 50 lakhs billing per year, my say for example, 10 lakhs and more is exclusively from particular client or their group companies or their subsidiaries. So if that being the case, there is a risk that is involved, the risk of concentration. I may be wholly depending on that particular client in case that particular audit is not given to me subsequently, there is a possibility of huge impact. So because of which, there is again a possibility of independence that I may try to compensate or I may try to agree with certain management because of the revenue stream. So are you having that particular sort of concentration? If it is so, try to diversify, try to liquidate that particular one so that you don't depend on that particular client alone. There you have a base of other people as well. So this is a particular area where we can really go and look into whether what is my composition, how I am making the revenue, what are all the billings that I have made, client-wise, how much of concentration is there, like that. We may go for a self-evaluation in this particular regard. I may have a different types of practices like accounting, auditing, taxation aspects also. I may do certain compilation activity that I may be in a position to diversify. But however, my specialization should be on audit and assurance services only. The second is another question. Do you have a vision statement or a mission statement? Are you driving towards that? It is again, as I told you, the tone at the top, whether they have set it. Are you really marching towards that? If yes, you have 4 marks. Otherwise, there will be no marks. The forward-looking statements, the roadmap, where I will be there after 5 years. What is my target area? Say, for example, you may even have a simple target activity of Go Green mechanism. From next year onwards, in my firm, I'm not going to take any printout. Everything is going to be digitalized. I may have this particular vision. I have taken to implement this particular projects. How I am really a Go Green entity. So, say for example, I may have a practice management software or a solution wherein all the working papers are getting documented, digitalized storage, and then I have a digital presence that is being done. Like that, there may be a roadmap for certain areas that is to be implemented, wherein 4 marks will be given for that particular vision and mission statement here. Next, there is an 8 marks question, very straight question. Presence of audit manuals containing the firm's methodology to ensure compliance with audit and implementation thereof. If it is yes, then I may be going for an 8 marks methodology. If it is no, considered to be important for me to give a 8 marks, because my entire audit is to be done only as per standards on auditing. My institute mandates this particular standards on auditing. My MCA, my Companies Act, mandates this particular standards on auditing. Whether it is for a big entity or a small entity, whether it is a body corporate or not a body corporate, it may be a trust or a partnership firm, or it could be even an individual for whom tax audit is applicable. The moment audit of financial statements is made applicable, necessarily standards on auditing compliance comes. Necessarily comply. I need to do my audit. I need to conduct my audit only in accordance with standards on auditing here. So, are you having methodology or handhold to your articled assistants to go for compliance with each of the standard, SA 200, SA 210, SA 220. Like for accounting standards, we may have manuals, we may have work list, we may have a checklist also. AS2 complied, AS10 complied, like that we may have accounting standard compliance. That could be a regular part. Technically, accounting standard of the management. Auditor has been complied with or not. That's it. I need not comply with it. On the other hand, with regard to standards on auditing is concerned, it is my full responsibility to go and comply with all these standards, SA 315, SA 500, SA 570, SA 501. Like that, there are huge applicability of good. Are you making your entity engagement team also to comply with? Are you enabling them with a manual in the audit checklist? Are you having the manuals? So automatically I may be in a position to implement. Automatically, I may be in a position to do a standardized way of verification. Improvised. If the answer is yes, then 8 marks. If the answer is no, 0 marks. Please always remember this particular point in every our auditing report, audit report, as per SA 700, that we have conducted our audit in accordance with standards on auditing. So when MCA asks a question, ROC sends a letter to stating that, dear auditor, you are auditor of ABC Private Limited Company, wherein in your audit report you have stated that you have conducted your audit as per standards on auditing. Please substantiate. Please provide data. Whether MCA is having authority, definitely yes. The moment they ask for this particular aspect to this will be a very good tool for reasonable. So this is, so if it is yes, then marks. If it is no, 0 marks. Assuming that I don't have that particular policy, immediately what we have to do is take a corrective mechanism. There are lapses. There are always scope for improvement. I have not done so far. Very good. Then how I can do it? Now onwards, we may be in a position to carve out what are all the standards that will be applicable for that entity. We may make my audit team to go and understand its impact and then to implement it while doing an audit here. It's a well-developed and appropriately communicated audit manual will always act as a very good guide for the entire team and to go for a benchmarking of your working papers and your quality aspects can be improved here. Necessarily standards on auditing, I emphasis on this particular standards on auditing always. So ensure that the standards on auditing are not only a checklist or a ticking items, it is really implemented in your audits so that we have the complete control and the quality is always retained here. Then on availability of standard formats. Very importantly, the formats that are applicable for that entity. Say, for example, letter of engagement. Letter of engagement is as per SA 210. Representation letter, it is as per SA 580, management's representation, written representation. Significant working papers, as per SA 230, I need to go for documentation. Reports on implementation thereof, say for example, SA 700, SA 705, SA 701, like that. There are various reporting standards which talks about different templates. All that we need to go for a template, standardized manner. The moment I give a template, the moment I talk about a template, it is not a copy paste that we are talking about. It is a standardization that we are talking about. So please understand, there are a lot of templates that are all available. Even Institute has gone for a very good publications and all. Audit of small and medium enterprises, like that, AAS and all has been given. That can be used as a standard yardstick. Say for example, nowadays, tax audit. This is a tax audit period. Slowly the taxation will start now. Assuming that a client comes to you and then wants to appoint you as a tax auditor, this is the first audit for me. Then what I have to do? What I'm doing as of now, I'm not doing anything. Just get the passwords, login ID passwords, go and evaluate your AS information, 26 AS, TAS information, and then complete the audit and then sign. That's it, over. Get the DSC and then get it signed. But what actually it is to be done? Being a tax audit client, I need to first of all get an engagement letter. I need to get an appointment letter from him. He may be an individual. I'm not talking about a corporate at all. Even for an individual, it is applicable. SA 210 will be applicable. They need to go for an appointment. I need to communicate to the previous tax auditor. That is as per standards, that is as per code of ethics. I need to communicate to the previous auditor. No objection certificate has to be obtained. It is not a no objection certificate, technically speaking. It is a communication to the previous auditor. Is there any professional reason why I should not assume it without doing this particular communication to the previous auditor? If I accept that particular audit, what will happen? The problem here is the previous auditor may even initiate a disciplinary action against you. The problem is 75% of the disciplinary issues are because of this particular problem. Without communicating to me, he has accepted the audit. Without even getting a confirmation from me, he has accepted the audit. So it is professionally ethically he is wrong, and he is professionally misconduct. His activity is a professional misconduct is what the complaint that can be made here. So please understand, the moment I have a standard formats, even for a tax audit, I have a representation letter, I have an appointment letter, I have a communication to the previous auditor, like that, the system and process will automatically take care. You need not do anything. The moment you have instructed your audit assistants accordingly, if they come for tax audit, you do 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. So automatically this can be done. Automatically I can be protected also for a huge, to a larger extent here. So please understand, are you having that particular standard formats? Are you having that particular process of having it? If yes, I will be securing 8 marks. Otherwise, no marks. As I told you some time back, the next question is on audit quality review manuals and audit tools. What tools that you have? What are all these standard checklists that you give to your people? Sir, whether my checklist alone will be my working paper, is it sufficient? Absolutely no. Your checklists are enablers. They are not performers. They are only enablers. Actually, the audit assistant has to perform the audit based on the enablers here. So usage of client acceptance, engagement acceptance checklists, adequate documentation thereof. For that, there will be a 4 marks. Evaluation of independence of all engagements. Say, for example, partners, managers, staff, trainees, based on the extent required. This is something called as independence requirement. Usually what firms will be doing is, a good firm which is having a standard on quality control will be, they will be getting a self declaration with regard to independence. They may be even going for an annual independence declaration. What is this annual independence declaration that I am talking about? Say, for example, it may be a standard format. Even SQC1 in implementation guide, they provide this particular standard format, wherein every person who is involved in an audit, he may be a partner, engagement partner, or he may be a qualified assistant, he may be a article assistant, first year, second year, whomsoever it may be, they may be giving an independent declaration that during the previous year, whatever that the audits that they have performed, I have done with independence. I have not compromised. I have not been influenced. I have not accepted any gifts. No hospitality, no gifts that I have accepted for. No other unethical activities that I have been involved into, like that. They may be going for a self-declaration as an independence concept. They may be giving a declaration. That will be a very good work paper. Even in a peer review, this is a particular specific point to be addressed. But this will be a very good practice, so that it checks, it acts as a moral check on the employees and the other people who are involved in the audit, for which you will be securing 4 marks also for the points given in AQMM here. Does the firm maintain and use engagement or a withdrawal rejection policy templates? This is a very interesting question. Are you having engagement withdrawal or a rejection policy? Practically, this was a case some 2 years back. There are a lot of withdrawals that happened, withdrawal of audits. So what SEBI thought was, no, this cannot happen. Just like that, you are withdrawing. After acceptance, you are coming out of the audit saying that you are resigning from that audit. So SEBI made a mandated item by way of a circular stating that in case you are being a statutory audit, you have done a first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, then you should mandatorily do the 4th quarter, and then only you can come out. Like that, they have made an instruction by way of SA 210. So what the point that I'm trying to have is, just like that, you cannot come out. Even AASB, Auditing and Assurance Standards Board, came out with an implementation guide for withdrawal and resignation. I am the auditor of a particular entity. Say, for example, entity, there is a gap between the auditor and the entity. I no longer want to continue with that particular firm of that particular entity. So the auditor gives an engagement withdrawal letter stating that because of health reasons, I come out, or because of mutually agreed reasons that we come out, or because of preoccupation. I give a reason. There is a preoccupation, I come out. Or I say that the complexities involved in the audit is not manageable. It is something very huge. I don't have staff to comply. So let me withdraw. Like that, if at all you do, it is not a valid withdrawal. Please remember, it is not a valid withdrawal. You cannot give an ambiguity reason. It should be an unambiguous reason that you need to provide for. Mutually agreed, preoccupation, health reasons, and all are not a valid reason for your withdrawal. There should be really health reason means there should be a really health reason. You need to substantiate with other data. Then only you can come out. Otherwise, you cannot. So, are you having a methodology to accept or withdraw a particular client? Not only acceptance, even withdrawal of a client will warrant a particular policy of the firm. Are you having a policy or not? Will be of 4 marks to 0 marks. So, thank God there are no negative marks in certain questions. There are certain questions wherein negative marks is also there, similar to the WCA Foundation examination where there are negative marks are there. Here also there are certain marks, it's negative, but however 0 is what the most negative number that in these questions that is being provided for. Similarly, availability of use of standard checklist in performance of an audit for compliance of accounting and auditing standards. Availability and use of standard formats of audit documentation, of business understanding, on what basis sampling is being done, on what basis materiality determination is being done, data analysis and control evaluation. Sir, simply they have combined certain standards on auditing into this particular question. The fifth question is considered to be very, very important question, very relevant. Say, for example, availability and use of standard formats for audit documentation of business understanding. How business understanding is to be done? Business understanding is to be done based on SA 315, identification and assessment of entity and its environment, including its internal control. So the risk of material misstatements, how it is to be identified, my business understanding. Sampling basis, on what basis we are doing a sampling? Say 530 addresses this particular samples. On what basis samples can be selected? Hypothetically, can I take a sample? Say, for example, bring me voucher number 50, 25, 32, 44. Like that, on a haphazard basis, can I go for a sampling? Will it be permitted? Or it should be only based on statistical sampling? So, when we think that it is to be only based on statistical sampling, the answer is no. Even haphazard selection is permitted. Judgmental sampling is permitted as per SA 530. No problem in it. But you need to substantiate how you are trying to reduce your sampling risk to an acceptable low level is what the part. SA 530 compliance. Materiality determination. On what basis you are deciding something is material, something is not material. Sir, why I need to decide on materiality? Because in my audit report, the purpose that I'm providing an opinion that in whether in all material respects that the financial statements are in accordance with financial reporting framework or not. Is there the financial statements are free from material misstatements or not? So materiality is another important spine of the auditor, where always I go with materiality. If something is not material, I don't bother. Auditor is to express an opinion on the considering the financial statement as a whole. So assuming that non-detection of a misstatement which is not material will not be the responsibility of the auditor. Even in SA 450 that talks about evaluating misstatements, the first question that the auditor will be asked is, assuming that there is a misstatement that is identified, sir, 50,000 rupees is to be accounted, but it has been accounted as 1 lakh. So is it material or not? Material, yes, sir. On what basis you decide? Based on judgment. So something is material. On the other hand, 50,000 rupees item is accounted as 51,000. That is also misstatement. But at times, auditor may conclude that it is not a material misstatement. I may even ignore. Can I ignore that? Answer is yes, you can ignore. SA 450 says so. Clearly trivial and material. If something is clearly trivial, ignore it. Document it and ignore it. Something significant, something material, then what I have to do is I need to communicate to the management for its correction. Sir, it is a material misstatement, please correct it. Also, the possibilities of material misstatements are there in the financial statements. I will be expanding my audit process. I will be extending my audit plan also in doing it, because your internal controls are so weak that it permits material misstatements to happen. It should not happen, but it is happening. So let me be very cautious. So I will be giving it to the management for its correction. When the management corrects it, no problem for me. On the other hand, when the management refuses to correct that particular material misstatements that is identified by the auditor, reported to the management for its correction, but management refuses to correct, or management is not willing to correct, then that particular misstatement will be called as uncorrected misstatement. So whether is it once again material considering the financial statement as a whole? If yes, then go for a modified opinion because there are material misstatements available. If it is not, then you go for a clean opinion, but go and document on what basis you are deciding and concluding. So here materiality is another important factor. SA 320 talks about materiality. An item which could influence the economic decisions of the user if it's misstated is something called as material. And again, based on judgment, there are parameters to decide on the materiality. The auditor has to go for identification of it. Sir, please understand, my audit staff may not know anything of this. My engagement team may not know anything of this. So being an engagement partner or a chartered accountant or an audit manager, we need to educate our engagement team about this. So the moment there is a standard checklist or templates that are already available that is given for them, that will be really beneficial for them to go for a quality in their audit. They will not miss out anything is what the understanding behind this. Data analytics, how you are doing an analysis of the data, including analytical procedure, budget analysis, stock analysis, variation analysis and all as per SA 520 that they will be doing it. And lastly, control evaluation also, including internal controls, including reporting on the internal financial controls. So all these are all embedded standards on auditing, which is as a question that they are asking. We need to go for really understand and adopt it. And then we need to go for improvising on our firm's policy here. Everybody, there may be, it's not an aspect to panic. You know, nothing is there of this, so we will not even attempt it like that. You cannot ignore. We'll try to approach it so that we will slowly and steadily we can go for an implementation of it. Start from scratch, zero level. At times, we need to start from a scratch level. But after a period of 1 year's time or 1.5 years' time, the quality would have been substantially increased, and we ourselves will be convinced about the quality that we take in our audits here. The next question are the documents are related to quality control mentioned in 1 to 4 above, 5 above, reviewed and updated on a frequent basis, say annually, or with each change in the respective regulation or a statute, remedial action has been taken or not. How keep on you are monitoring? It's nothing but a monitoring point. So my policy is there for the past 10 years, same policy, then it is of no use. Are you updating it? Are you having a similar to that of AQMM 1.0, 2.0, 3.0? Are you having version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0? Are you updating it mandatorily, at least annually, so that there are changes to the current scenarios has been given effect to, like that the revision in the audit manuals and quality review manuals and the effective dates through which this is happening and all will be a part of our evaluation mechanism here. The next requirement is on service delivery with regard to the commitments, timelines that we have already committed to. Are we in a position to complete it within the planned scope? Are we taking an extended timeline? Are we going for whether I have a capacity to complete this particular audits and all, like that we need to go for a service delivery and the efforts vis-a-vis the monitoring activity for which 4 point. And is there a process of budgeting and planning the efforts required, maintain hours, days or weeks and all. This is an area where usually predominantly many firms require improvements, because many firms may not do a strict budget analysis and all. Sir, it's all our firm, at least in the initial years of practice or to stabilize myself, I will not bother about monitoring. I need to establish myself in the firm, in the market. So I need to go for working. I cannot charge my clients based on the number of hours that I work and all. It is not possible like that. You may not stop it. You need not bill it, no problem, but try to have this particular budgeting as an internal process so that day by day there are possibilities that you can also improvise. I have seen certain law firms billing and all. Huge law firms billing, really, it's not to degrade anyone. They're all huge. We have a high regard with the professionals. But the point is, the way in which chartered accountants log in the last 10 overs, I keep on hit every ball, but it will be just a simple ball that they may be playing and then billing lakhs to lakhs. I recently used to seem to have a billing of a big firm, of a law firm, that the senior partner have discussed your case internally with our team for 15 minutes. Like that, they mentioned in the bill itself, 15 minutes of internal discussion of your firm, 50,000 rupees is the fees charged. Another day, 15 days of internal discussion, another 50,000 rupees has been charged. Representation, you occurs before the court, 3 lakhs rupees. Simple. So 4 lakhs rupees is what the bill. No GST, pay it on reverse charge. Like that, the law firms may be in a position to do a simple one-day activity, whatever we do it for 1 year activity. So the point is budgeting. The point is billing and budgeting, which is an important point. But that's not the only point that I'm trying to carve in here, but it's an important factor that we need to also go in for. The moment we are in a position to substantiate the time and the efforts and complexities involved in this particular audits, at times we may be looking at that we may be doing an underbilling in this particular regard. So budgeting, planning efforts that is required, so that there is no double work that can be done, for which there is a negative marking also. So say for example, one time I have filed a return, next it was wrong, and then second time I'm doing the same activity, but the client, I will be getting only one fees. No, I'm not going to tell my client, sir, originally one return, next to revise the return. So there are 2 returns that we have filed, and all will not be a point for discussion here. So the point that I'm driving here is, the moment you do a duplicated activity, then there is a negative marking also that is given in the AQMM here. One time, do it with the quality is what the point here. Plan for executing it in the timely and effective manner, so that the efficiency and effectiveness is always taken care in your audits. Also capacity building. So am I having the right resource in doing this particular activity, not to have a delayed compliance of a particular activity, will be a point for looking into, and then improvements may be taken in that particular area. In the same service delivery and efforts monitoring, our budget versus actual analysis of time and effort spent, then accordingly the points have been given. So is there any carried out to identify the costing and pricing up to 10%, then there is 0 marks. Then there is more than 10%, there is 4 points. Like that, it is on a graded manner that they go for it. Maximum score of 20 points could be possible in case of budget versus actual analysis. There is a variance, there is a minimal variance, then it is good. That there is a huge variance, then there is bad. Again, does the firm deploy technology to monitor efforts spent, that is utilization of tools to track each activity, say for example, project management, say timesheets, task management note, and all will be a part of my monitoring mechanism. Are you having it? Incidentally, there is also something called as DCMM, similar to that of your AQMM, Audit Quality Maturity Model. There is also something called as DCMM, Digital Competency Maturity Model. Are your firm is matured enough to have the digital competency? Are you embracing the technology in the right way? Institute has issued this particular digital quality competency maturity model also. Similarly, there are questions and answers, marks and evaluation that can be done. How servers are being maintained, how the data is being flowed, who is having access to this particular data, who can amend that particular data, like that. The digital security, digital competency, digital storage, and all is being discussed in that particular digital competency maturity model. If it is done, then there is an 8 points. If it is no, then there is no points here. Similarly, the quality control for engagements, which is another base yardstick taken from SQC1, peer review requirements, and this. Say, for example, does the firm have a partner review or a quality review for all audit assignments? And is there a document of time spent for review of all engagements? Are you engaging a firm's partner to review your own activity? There is important understanding that we have to make with regard to SA 220. SA 220 talks about EQCR, Engagement Quality Control Reviewer. Who is this engagement quality control reviewer? He may be my partner, another competent person of the firm, or external chartered accountant who is in practice, who may be coming and reviewing the activities done by me, whether my completions are proper, whether my judgments are proper, whether my conclusions are proper. Like that, he may be coming and reviewing the activity done by the engagement team, and he will try to have his own opinion, which will be compared with the engagement opinion, whether is it in the sync or is there any improvements to be made. This is something called as engagement quality control review. Please understand this is applicable and mandatory only in case of audit of listed entities. I repeat, engagement quality control reviewer is mandatory in case of listed entities. In case of other entities, engagement quality control is required, but quality control review by an external person or another partner will be mandated only in case of listed entities. For other entities, voluntarily, if you require, do it. Otherwise, don't take up that particular risk. So, are you having a firm's policy that every audit will be reviewed by another person, or these important audits will be reviewed by the other person? Like that, you may have a policy. Accordingly, you need to go for implementing it. At least there is a peer verification that is to be done. Say, for example, the work done by an audit assistant, first year audit assistant, should be reviewed by a senior person. That particular work should be reviewed by engagement partner or by audit manager. Like that, there should be a hierarchy on your verification, at least of the same character that the person's review should have been done, so that there is something called as maker checker that is happening here. The process of internal check can be implemented in this particular regard, so that your quality is also again maintained here. Total engagements having concluded satisfactorily without any quality review comments. Again, it is based on the grades that you will be having marks also. So again, in your peer review, when you go for a question answer filling up form 1 at the time of filing it, you may find it this sort of questions, and whatever the fact it is there, you may try to implement. Don't try to go for non-factual answering in that particular form. Another aspect is with regard to the same quality control review engagement is number of engagements without findings of ICAI committees of ICAI and regulators that require significant improvements. Say, for example, there are audit findings done by the engagement verification by ICAI or by any other person. If it is there, then there are points. If it is no, then there are good points that is also to be made. Documentation of the firm in accordance with SQC1, that is the most important aspect. SQC1, as I have told you already, SQC is the base for all other standards on quality control, which talks about the entire template, the positioning, the modeling of the firm's level, which is mandatory at a firm's level to be implemented. So are you documenting the quality control policies, SQC? What is this firm's policy? Wherever there are disputes, immediately the firm's policy can be referred, and then you may go for a solution for that. So for the presence and documentation of critical areas of ethical requirements, leadership, ethical, acceptance and client engagement, business performance and monitoring, human resources, like that, there are 6 divisions of this particular SQC1. Whether all these 6 divisions are being taken care, or am I working towards improvising on these 6 divisions, will be an excellent activity that is to be performed here. Also, documentation of the SQC1 and having that particular documentation with regard to the policies that are implemented will be of high use here. Critical areas, code of ethics compliance, independence compliance, and all will be part of this particular documentation here. Again, in my SQC1, I need to mention how long that the firm will be retaining the engagement papers. There is something called as engagement working papers. How long it is to be retained? As per SQC1 of the institute, read with SA 230, the engagement working papers, there is nothing but the audit documentation, are to be retained for a minimum period of 7 years time. So mandatorily, then it need to be maintained for a 7 years time minimum, which is from the date of my signing. So am I having that particular policy of implementing? Am I having a policy of assembly of the final file within 60 days from the date of signing my balance sheet, like that? There are certain specific points that is to be included in the engagement documentation. Whether it has been done as per SQC1 or not shall also be examined, for which marks will be provided. And auditing resources in the form of soft copies, Q&As, firm thought leadership, a dedicated technical desk that is available for having clarification to be provided at auditing and accounting standards, whether are they having resources or not. If yes, 8 points. If no, there is 0 points. Is there appropriate time spent on understanding the business, risk assessment and planning of an engagement? How have the risk been mitigated through performance of the audit procedures? Nothing but the point of SA 315 and 330 how you are evaluating the risk assessment procedures. Say, for example, this is the first time I'm going to do an audit of a cement manufacturing company. So these are all the business risks that are associated. These are all the inherent risks that are associated. These are all the control risks that are associated with financial statements. These deduction risks could also be possible because of the complexities. Like that, the auditor, first of all, needs to identify the risk of material misstatement by understanding the entity and its environment, including its internal control. KYC, know your customer. Incidentally, Institute has given a KYM, know your member. You need to go and update a lot of aspects. You need to provide the photo, this, that, and all, so that our institute knows better about us. Similarly, we need to update about our own client. So how the client is, what risk is, what is their market share, what is their shareholding pattern, what is their future operations. Like that, we may be in a position to go and have a huge understanding about the entity and its operations, including its internal control. And accordingly, what are all the mitigative mechanism that you have performed through your audit procedures? Say, for example, my company is having a bank exposure, huge 20 bank accounts are there. There is a high risk area. There is a possibility of material misstatement in banking operations. Then in that particular case, what I have done, I need to go for a deeper verification in that particular area. So the assessed risk will be responded by way of my audit procedures, so that sufficient appropriate audit evidence can be obtained in those areas which are considered to be high risk area. It is like a accident prone zone. In that particular zone, there may be a speed breaker, so that I need to go carefully so that the destination has been reached properly. Similarly, here also, the moment I identify this is a risky area, or this is an area where there could be a possibility of material misstatement, then on that particular area, I need to go for a deeper verification. My extended audit procedures has to be performed. These are all the indicators that indicated me that this is a risk area. This is what documented, and this is how I have mitigated that particular risk. Like that, I need to go for a specific documentation, which will substantiate that I have taken all reasonable care and caution while performing this particular audit here. The next one is the benchmarking of the service delivery, how I am doing it with regard to a standardization. Does the firm follow or implement standard delivery methodology, the adoption of audit manuals, adherence to practice standards and tools? So there are audit tools that are available. There are audit manuals that are available. Are you adopting to that? Are you implementing that? The number of statutory audit engagements reworked. Say sometime back, I have told you, there should not be any duplication here. This is what exactly the question talks about. The number of statutory audit engagements reworked, including filing errors, information insufficiency, wrong interpretation of provisions. Accordingly, I'm going to do a reactivity, redoing that particular activity. There is a negative points. This is what that point that I'm talking about. Say, for example, if it is less than 5%, then no point, no problem, 0 point. On the other hand, if there are more than 5%, I'm doing it, then -1 point. More than 50% that I'm doing that activity, then that is -4 points. Like that, the points have been given for negative aspects also. So any work done to correct the defects is known as a rework. So I cannot go for a reworking activity and all. It results in failure of the resources, demotivated resources here. And then reworking increases the cost of the performance and compliance also. So automatically the reworking has to be has to be stopped. And also the point, it directly have an impact on your quality. So there is a quality service is not done is proven the moment you do a rework of that particular activity. Should be a flawless reporting to be made. The firm has to try to reach that particular efficiency level and try to avoid the inefficiency in this regard. Number of client disputes and how they are addressed, other than fees dispute. Fees dispute is a separate matter. They don't indulge into. Other than fees dispute, number of disputes that you have, if at all there are more disputes are there, then there are negativeness that is also provided here. At the time or the timing of audit interactions with the management planned in such a way that integrates with the auditor's requirement, so that the timelines can be met. Review frequency of backlog, engagement agreed upon, not commented, whether WAP, etc. has been verified properly at the proper intervals. Whenever there are explanations that is sought from the management, are you making your verification and the explanations in a parallel way? You perform sometime, and then after 1 month, 2 months back, you are asking for a explanation, then it is of no use at all. Management may be simply saying that it has been rectified, it has been corrected, like that they may go for it. So the timing is considered to be very, very relevant here. The firm should also review the frequency of backlog, how back that I am going for it, engagement agreed upon and not commenced. So certain areas which I have agreed upon and not commenced, certain areas that are in WIP, like that, you need to keep on relook those aspects so that the early completion and appropriate timely completion, which will facilitate the service delivery here. Service delivery is always something very, very essential here. Engagement letter will also have capturing this particular timeline with which audit is to be performed or that activity is to be performed. So within that stipulated timeline, we may be in a position to do that activity. If it is done, 12 points. If it is no, then there is 0 points here. Another interesting area is client sensitization. Are you making aware about the client, the difficulties that you are facing about? Are you enlightening the client with regard to the latest updates that is happening? Awareness is what considered to be very, very relevant and important. You can even conduct awareness meetings also. Awareness meetings and knowledge dissemination meetings, articles, document sharing with the clients, etc., including the budget updates. Budget 2023 provided for this particular aspect will have an impact on you. Say, for example, this payment basis, your allowance on payment basis with regard to MSME may have an impact on all the clients wherever that we operate. So this may be by way of a bulletin that are we making awareness about this particular point to the client, because client may not know its implication. So we need to go for effectively communicating them the latest updates and the complications involved. Say, for example, at times at the return filing point that we may face a huge problem with regard to technological impact and all. So the client may not be aware why this is a simple filing, why you are struggling like that. It may have an effect on the auditor's quality here. So whatever the legal and regulatory changes that may have an impact on the working on their accounting or for knowledge dissemination purposes, we should be in a position to appropriately make aware about these activities, for which 8 marks will be there. And if we don't do that particular communication on a periodical basis, then there is a 0 points that can be provided here. Monitoring planned hours versus actual hours across engagement. The focus is on the existence of the monitoring mechanism also. So that I keep on monitor this particular aspects, including the impact on my working with regard to the auditor's working can be taken out here. Technology adoption at the office. So these are all somewhat administrative points also getting covered. Apart from technical points, there are many administrative points are also getting covered, including human resources. Internal communication chats. Very good. Every office may have a office WhatsApp group, so that I may. It's a very good only that I may one stroke I may be in a position to communicate with my entire team of people. A latest item I may be in a position to share. A new items that they may be going for a knowledge updation like that. It's a use of my technology here. As the firm automated this office with automated attendance system and leave management system. Say, for example, biometric, so that the attendance system is automatically tagged with our incentive and payroll, so that it is marked automatically like that. Are you having an automated system, a login system, work from home or work from other place, how you are in a position to monitor and all will be a part of this particular automation activity. Project or activity management, timesheet management. See, at a client's place or at others place, or even at work from home, the timesheet has to be updated by every article. It can be reviewed by the manager or a partner, so that what exactly the work has been done, what is the timeline that is taken for that particular activity, like that. We may be in a position to have a tracking system of the work that is then completed. It will be increasing the efficiency, and it will also increase the monitoring capacity here. Digital storage of records. Sometime back I have told you a go green mechanism. The moment you go for a go green mechanism, this digital warehousing is considered to be very, very relevant. How effectively that you are using the technology for digital storage, because one of the important factor that nowadays people faces physical space in my office for my old files. Sir, you say 7 years that I need to maintain all the work papers. So I have a small office wherein in a city like Bengaluru, where the space is a huge constraint. In that particular case, 7 years files that I need to keep, that I don't have space to sit also. So that space constraints is a very important constraint which can be replaced simply by this particular digital storage here. I may optimize my utilization with regard to the technology so that my space, my money, my resource can be well taken. At times there are outsourced activity can also happen. There are people who maintain the records and then retrieval on a rental basis and all, they do it. Even in Bangalore, they do, certain people. So all this can also be used based on an agreement, but digital data storage will be a very effective item. It is very easy to have access, and also retrieval is also very simple, and security is also retained here. Centralized server or a cloud database, which is again an important factor, where even at COVID times that we would have seen this particular fact, that again it is easier to manage both the hardware and the data if it is in a centralized one. Exclusive database could also be possible. Cloud systems where we may be in a position to have easy access and retrieval, that is also possible here. It's based on the complexity, based on the way in which we work, the same shall be designed and shall be executed here. Digital library, another important infrastructure improvement that we have to go in for. So how effective that we have digital library, say for example, access to various knowledge resources website. So are you providing that particular access, whether the implementation is being made properly or not? Merely I have subscribed, sir, nobody uses should not be a proper answer here, where the access to these particular libraries will always enhance the quality, and also it improvises on the updation level here. Client interactions, maybe through an internal chat box or through a particular platform wherein all the communications are getting recorded, and all our sophisticated system that we may have, so that I always maintain the confidentiality, and also the compliances of various laws and regulations could also be maintained here. For which marks will be provided? Yes, 4 points, no 0 points, like that. There are marks also adopted for technology adoption. Video conferencing facilities. Video conferencing is just what we see now today, is what video conferencing. I think one of the good aspect that is done in COVID period is this particular video conferencing. When there are a lot of digital interactions, virtual interactions that could take place. The barrier of physical movement has been just like that removed with the help of this particular technology. So video conferencing facilities are really a wonderful technology, wherein we may be in a position to connect with the help of this technology. Does the firm use a licensed operating system and a software, or you are using a pirated one? If you use only, you have a policy to use only the licensed activity, then 4 marks, otherwise it will be of no marks. Own email domains, own email usage and policy, use of antivirus, data security, cyber security measures, all are technology related aspects that is to be implemented in my office. A better technology to be implemented, for which marks will be allocated accordingly here, which also includes the policy of the firm, and the secrecy of the data can be always at my control here. Then awareness and adoption of the technology for service delivery, say for example, audit tools, analytical tools. Predominantly my spreadsheets will be a good audit tool. Other than that, there are very good audit tools that are available in the markets also, where there are audit softwares that could be available. Even institute is trying to come out with certain audit tools. It is in a pipeline. Shortly, I feel that it may be released, where there are audit tools, analytical tools and all will be available, so that you extract the data, and then that you run that particular data into the systems, and then exceptional reporting can be identified. Material misstatements can be easily located, and all could be possible here. Again, digital competency maturity model also talks about it, for which 12 marks is provided. Otherwise, it is of a 0 mark here. Revenue budgeting and pricing, that I have already told. Whether the client-wise revenue is in compliance with the code of ethics. Currently, fees from one client should not exceed 40% of the total revenue. And once the deferred class part A are implemented, this will be reduced to 15%. Basically, in peer review, the question is on 15%. concentration is on 15%. That doesn't mean that you should not accept it, but there is a problem. There is a concentration. There is a risk similar to that of a geographical risk. There is a client risk that is associated in it. Also, it affects the independence. The code of ethics also goes for a mandatory maximum cap with which your revenue from a particular client or the group of client can be. Fees consideration and scope of services should not infringe upon the quality of work. That's another important aspect, that I am not compromising my quality based on the fees. My quality should also be always be maintained. My fees should be commensurate with the work that is involved, but at no point of time I can compromise my quality on account of this particular fees that has been provided. So are you having a policy, first of all? Are you implementing that particular policy? Are you keep on monitoring that particular policy? Will be for 8 marks, otherwise there will be 0 marks here. All these are all, I have repeatedly, I'm telling this, it's a self-evaluation. I need to really look at, I may merely say, yes, I have, and then put 8 marks. But for whom? To whose satisfaction that I'm doing it? I need to really look into what is this fees consideration, SQC1, what exactly SQC1 talks about. Why can't my firm's policy will be in line with SQC1? And why can't I implement it? Maybe not on a single day it can be done. It's not a magic wand that can be done. But slow and steady towards that particular target, definitely we may be in a position to reach that. Adherence to minimum scale of fees standards that is recommended by ICAI. This is what also another point. Sorry. This is also a question in peer review. Whether the fees charged by you is in compliance with ICAI minimum recommended fees. In case there is a fees lesser than that particular ICAI recommended, what justification that you have for having accepted that particular work for a lesser fees? Say maybe for the work complexity that I have accepted, like that, that cannot be undercutting of fees. That's what the implied point that they are trying to go for it. Undercutting should never be there. In case you are accepting a fees for a based on your metro city, you are trying to charge something lesser than that. It doesn't create a level playing field. Is what that they try to go for it. Even firm wise that they have this particular recommended numbers and all. I cannot go below. It is not that mandatorily I should not go below. There is a possibility that I may go below, but I need to try to provide reasons and justification for that particular lesser fees. The next criteria is on HR, human resource. Auditor is a best human resource person because I know how to deal with a particular person. Being an auditor, being a chartered accountant, right from our article time, that we are trained to go and interact with people, especially with the people from whom we need to get the data on which we will be working, and we will be finding fault with the person who have provided the data itself. Say, for example, an accountant who will be providing the data for us, not to get a good name from us, but to get a bad name from us. We identify these entries are not passed, this is wrong, that is wrong, like that the auditor identifies it. So the person who is wanting to provide the data may not provide the data because the auditor is here to find fault, is what that his belief will be. Even from that particular person, we may be in a position to get the data and get the things done. So the chartered accountants are really a best human resource people. But how I am managing effectively for my audit function, how I am ensuring quality, how I am ensuring the timeliness in my way of functioning is what the purpose of this project evaluation here, human resource management here. Does the firm have a process of employee resources planning for engagement-based skill set requirement, experience, etc.? For this particular skill set, these are all the minimum requirements. My policy by itself, I will be recruiting people with a minimum disqualification like that. Are you having a policy? This particular audit, in order to go for it, my team should be qualified with this. At least they need to have attended this training like that. Are you having a policy? Methods, tools used by the firm for resources allocation. Say, for example, spreadsheets, workflow and all. Is there a method of tracking the employee activity to identify the resource productivity? Example, timesheet sometime back that we have talked about. So for yes, there will be 4 points. For no, there will be 0 points. So resource monitoring is one of the important aspects, especially for a CA firm. The problem will be because of the examinations of my students, of my articled assistants. Say, for example, this is an examination period. my students would have gone for final exams or gone for intermediate exams. My article assistants may not be there. Only for those who are going to write in November and thereafter will be there. Very few people. My entire team may be going for the exams, and then they may also have a leave system. So I need to provide first time. I need to provide this much of months of leave, and then every examination I need to provide a leave. So this being a peak time, I should also maintain and manage that particular activity. It's really a challenging, practically a challenging one. How you are allocating the resources, how you are having a backup plans, how you are managing the clients is what the policy level requirement that they want for. Resource planning and monitoring as per the firm's policy. Does the firm maintain a minimum staff to partner ratio? So one partner will have minimum this many staffs, or these many staff will have at least one particular partner like that. Are you having the partner staff ratio, partner to manager, manager to articles, client staff ratio and all? Are you maintaining this? Does the firm monitor the utilization and realization rate per employee? How you are utilizing, how you are realizing the money, monitoring terms? Does the firm document the resource plan for each engagement and file it for reference during the engagement? This particular engagement requires these many people, these many resources of this quality like that. Are you having that particular mechanism? Many a times we may not have a document. Sir, all are in brain. I only know this particular client can be handled by this particular article. So I just send them, you to go there. Very good, fine. You do it practically. But parallelly, you document is what the requirement that they want for, so that I have a proper planning. I have do it in a systematic manner and not on a haphazard manner is what the requirement and improvement area. Employee training and development. Very interesting is, does the firm have an employee training policy? Are you having a training methodology? Many people have this. Many firms have this. The culture of training to the employees. Say, for example, every month, the third Saturday or a fourth Saturday will be for training, or every Saturday that will be training, or once in 15 days that will be training. We will be discussing about what are all the latest updates that is happening within that particular month, so that one of the employee can come and discuss about this. Others can make a note. One can make a presentation on a particular area, and then others can also understand and learn on a rotating basis. I may doing this particular training like that. There may be a firm's internal training. The other partners may try to show their experience and expertise so that the people may be in a position to learn. Does the firm have an employee training policy? Number of professional development hours or days spent as per firms per firm and per employee, how much hours that you have done like that. It is based on the points. 60 hours per year for junior, then points for general training, and 6 points for 2 points for general training, and 6 points for special technical training. So 30 to 60 hours per year for mid-level, and more than 30 hours for partners. Already I have my CPE hours, and apart from it, I also go for a training within the internal training program and all. Will be really to cater the development aspects. The development is something very, very important. It should, my policy, first of all, my SQC should have a training policy. My implementation should be as per my training policy. It can be classified with the technical and administrative area. Even the brand building can be there. Even how to present yourself, how to equip yourself, how to face your interview, how to face an examination can be a part of your training. Good. But also technically with regard to updations, upgradations and all will also be part of the training area, which can be done. Technical skills, managerial of my training hours only. Whether the firm has a performance management culture that rewards high performing employees and those who demonstrate high levels of quality and ethics. I may not have a rewarding mechanism, incentive mechanism. I may give a good boy, employee of the month or article of the month like that. I may give a photograph and then I may appreciate him. But they ask for, are they provide a incentive also? Monetary incentive is also a question. Even in peer review, there is a question about how effectively that you are improvising, how effectively you are evaluating the performance of the employees, and how you are motivating them, how you are incentivizing them like that. There are a lot of questions that are being asked at the peer review level. That is based on the firm's policy here. high performance management culture that rewards high performing employees and those who demonstrate high levels of ethics is always a wonderful activity. It is a motivating activity for them to maintain and upgrade that particular value here. Very interesting question is this. I like this particular question like anything. Special policies to provide people time to rejuvenate, especially after busy audit sessions. Are you having a policy? Please touch your heart and tell how many of us are having this particular policy to have people time to rejuvenate. What is this? Especially after busy audit session. I don't find a time where there is something called as a busy audit session. After a busy audit session that you have a huge timeline that is available like that, we don't have any timelines. Assuming that there is such a timeline, are you having a policy to have a rejuvenate your article assistants or your engagement team? Say, for example, a tour or a team outing like that, which will motivate them to retain is what the culture that they try to have. But I don't find any time after busy audit session, there is a lean period. And after that, there is a busy period like that. There is no such period for an auditor. Always it's a busy period is what that I think, because one after another, automatically things are coming in. Once this particular year end, then there will be a bank audit, then there will be audit finalizations, immediately tax audit, individual filing and all will come in. Like that, it will be a cyclic process. But sometime that we need to find a time to go for having all this HR activity as a good and a quality time that is to be made for them. Focused policies and support for staff well-being, engagement and communications, say staff welfare mechanism, say for example, insurance policies for my staff. At times, CA Institute is also goes with a minimum policy here. What policy that you have? Are you able to hear me? Am I online? Yes. Can anyone confirm?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Because there is a power fluctuation. That's why I have a doubt that whether am I audible or not. Thank you for your confirmation here.
Okay.
The next one is an established mechanism to listen to people and their views and suggestions. It's like a sort of a whistleblower policy, or it's a sort of an interactive communication that.
Sorry, sir.
Yes, sir.
Manjunath here.
Yes, sir.
In case if you want to take a break, small break, I guess you can take that, please. I know
Fine, sir. Fine. After this particular slide, that we may go for a 5 minutes break. Yeah, we can go for a bio break. 7 o'clock. We'll just complete this particular point. Thank you, Manjunath, sir, for your aspect. Yeah. An established mechanism to listen to people and their views and suggestions. So there is a possibility that you may be in a position to have an interactive or viewing the other person's perspective also. So there is something called as a reciprocative methodology, wherein you hear that activities and views of the engagement team, so that their grievances are also handled properly here. Credible employee survey and its outcome demonstrate how well people are taken care of and heard of. So their views are also been verified and examined is also a part of your resource management and compensation management here. The last point in compensation management will be on standards of recruiting people, how you are evaluating them. Are you having an interview and then you are taking it, whether they are compensated properly or not, for which 4 points will be there. Otherwise, there will be 0 points. Are the employees of the firm compensated as per a defined approach where salary is mapped to the knowledge and experience level of the employee? Leave about your articled assistance where institutes talks about a minimum stipend. I know predominantly all of us pay something much higher than the minimum stipend. That's good part, not an issue. But for other staff, are you mapping your salary along with the skill set or not? If at all it is yes, then for 4 marks. Otherwise, it is of 0 marks is what the criteria here. All these are all with regard to the resource turnover. The resource turnover should not be there. They need to be retained and maintained, because I'm giving training and practice hands-on experience for them, so that they are staying back with me, and also they are compensated properly for their work is what the intention for which marks are also being provided here. The next set is qualification activity that we will have a 5 minutes break, and then we will come back once again and then we will have a continued discussion and question answer in this particular regard. Let us have a 5 minutes of bio break. Thank you. Yeah, good evening, sir. I'm back. Am I able to make it clear? Can we proceed? Yes, thank you. Thank you, Manjunath, sir. Let us proceed in this particular regard with regard to the qualification skill set of employees and use of experts. Yeah, this is another gray area where people miss out. These are all the protection that we need to have. Members with specialization courses like IFRS, NDAS, diploma in IFRS or fraud detection and all will be given a weightage. Very importantly, the question is asked on use of experts. Many times we use the work of an expert. Who is an expert, technically speaking? As defined in the standards on auditing, experts are people who are having technical knowledge in areas other than accounting or auditing. So if at all they have technical knowledge in accounting and auditing, they are not experts, they are chartered accountants. So here there are experts that can be made, used by the management. Say, for example, the management uses the actuarial valuation and provides a gratuity, a liability is getting created. Then in that particular case, can I use the work done by that expert? Or take an example, there is a litigation and wherein the lawyer says that we are going to win this case, so no provision is required. So the management has not made any provision. In that particular case, can I go with that particular expert? Whether that particular information which is discussed or concluded by the expert, can it be my decision or also? If at all it goes against me, assuming that particular case is not won by the company, it goes against the company. Will it be a question on the auditor? Why you have not provided for that? So please understand, we need to go and apply SA 500 and SA 620 in case of management's expert and auditor's expert respectively. So say for example, many times the management's expert is used, lawyers are getting your work is used or actuarial valuation or experts or technical valuation experts are being used. In those cases, I can very much rely on the work done by them. I need to go for a gross understanding of the work done by them, and I can go for considering that particular item as a sufficient appropriate audit evidence, provided the competency levels of that particular experts are being tested here. So are you having a mechanism and policy to go for it? Because at times, if I don't do that, then there will be a repercussion on the auditor's quality here. Performance evaluation measures carried out by the firm, including key performance indicators like KPIs. Does the firm have a written KPIs for performance evaluation? How you are evaluating the partners? How you are evaluating the work done by your articled assistants? Because evaluating the work done by the team is considered to be very important. Even under Companies Act, you have for certain entities, there is a requirement for establishing a performance mechanism, evaluation mechanism, how your board of directors have performed, how your individual committees have performed, how your individual directors have performed. Like that, there is a performance mechanism, performance evaluation mechanism has to be done, including a management audit and all. So here also for the audit firm, how you are going for the evaluating your performance, whether there is an annual performance, whether there is a self questions, and whether there is a review that is taken. Like that, there are other questions relating to the performance measurement here that should be basically as per SQC. Practice management, including the strategic function, the last area where there is an 80 marks questions that are being asked. So how you have a practice management, how effectively you are doing it. Again, it is not so technical. It is again on an administrative perspective here. Does the firm have a balanced mix of experienced and new assurance partners? So there is an experienced person who knows how the client will behave, how to get the things done. And there is a new assurance partner who are vibrant and updated with the latest technology and latest aspects. So is there a synergy effect that is happening? Are there a combo mix is there or not? If it is there, then there is a high marks, 8 marks has been provided. For average partners experience of partners greater than 5 years, then 4 points. Then average partners experience is greater than 10 years, then it will be of 8 marks here. It's like an higher grade for higher experience here. Is the firm compliant with ICA Code of Ethics, Companies Act, and other regulatory requirements in relation to professional independence and conflict of interest? Am I complying with independence requirements? Am I complying with Code of Ethics? ICA came out with a revised Code of Ethics, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. My professional ethics is given in my Schedule 1, first schedule and second schedule of the CA Act. Am I complying this? Am I doing the ethical aspects or not? Like that, there are questions for which answer is yes, 8 marks. No, there is 0 point here. Is there a whistleblower policy that is implemented? See, what is this whistleblower policy that we are talking about? Where an alarming that particular person relating to a fraud or a scam or an unethical practice, even the policy is even without revealing the identity of the person, you may make a complaint. In a company, say for example, listed company and other companies where there is a vigil mechanism that may be updated, that may be applied as per Companies Act and as per LODR regulations, where you may even have access, direct access to the audit committee chairman, who shall be an independent person, who shall be an independent director. So there is a possibility of making this complaint to a highest authority so that the corrective action can be taken, so that the interest of the company can be protected. That is at a corporate setup. But now we are talking about at a firm setup. So are you having a whistleblower policy so that any person, any staff may be in a position to make a complaint about, it may be even anonymous also, about unethical practices or protection to women or illegal activity that are all happening like that, or there are compromise of independence like that, whatever may be the issue that could be highlighted to the next level or a higher authority. That is something called as whistleblower policy. If yes, there will be a 4 points. Otherwise, there will be no points in this regard. Infrastructure related aspects, number of branches and associates and network of the firms and affiliated. So you have it, you have number of branches, the more the branches that you have, the better presence that the firms is having. Branches in small cities shall have only 1 point. Branches in metro, tier 1 cities shall have additional points based on the number of resources that are available here. Again, afflicting yourself with a network is also a capacity building measure only. So that's also a capacity building measure. Multifaceted operations could be possible, for which marks can be provided here. And then are the branch level activities centralized or decentralized in accounting, invoicing, and payroll processing? If it is centralized, 8 points. If it is decentralized, then it is only 4 points. Why? Because you are really a branch, then it should be centralized. So there should be one HO through which you operate. Otherwise, what happens sometimes practically for all bank audit purpose, we will be partners. But for all other purpose, we will be separately working like that. If it is there, then it may be a decentralized one, which is not the intention. So you need to have a centralized way of functioning so that there will be uniformity, there will be consistency, there will be standardization in the way in which you work, the way in which the quality aspects can be taken up could be there as a part of this particular practice management activity here. Even in peer review, if at all you have a firm, then the firm activities will also be subject to peer review. There can be a separate peer reviewer as per revised guidelines of peer review. For a firm, you may also have for a branch in the firm, you may have a separate peer reviewer. For the HO, there may be a separate peer reviewer. That is also optional. If at all you want, you can have it. But as a policy is to verify the entity as a whole, the peer reviewer has to give a comment about it, because it's the firm's ability that we are talking about in peer review and not on individual branch ability here. Physical and logical security of information are extended and implemented across all the locations where there can be a branch office which can be working decentralized mode. In that particular case, are you having access to this particular one? Whether client access can be made, whether library access can be made or not, shall be with all secrecy protocol, with the security protocol. Are you enabling your IT resources also for there to be examined? If it is yes, it is 8 points. Otherwise, it is 0 points here. Are there adequate data analytics tools and IT infrastructure available? And are they being used for relevant assignment? Please understand data analytics tools through information technology. This is another area where people always think that I need to necessarily use a software that is an audit software, then only I am doing an audit like that. They may come to a wrong conclusion. That is not the case. The data analytic tools actually help in automating or taking a wonderful optimizing the resources that is available. And it may also save a lot of time and efforts. Predominantly today, everything is computerized. Then the system-based data extraction and analytical will be really helpful. That doesn't mean that you need to use a separate software mandatorily. No, there is no such requirement. there are sophisticated softwares that could be available, but need not be always be used. You can also use a basic spreadsheets or something like that, where to go for analysis is based on the client and the complexities that is involved. The design of data analytics and the audit tools that can be used will be designed here. Audit tools can be of physical as well as system oriented tools that could be possible. No problem in having an information technology to be used in this regard. MIS data that is used by the client can be a very good source of information for you to go for evaluating and verifying this particular aspect here. Is the infrastructure adequate in terms of internet, intranet network bandwidth, VPN, Wi-Fi, etc. for remote working? Predominantly, they are enabling you to go for a remote working. You go on your own. Why to have a space? Nowadays, there are no rental spaces also. You work from home and all. So if that being the case, are you having the infrastructure that is created to work from home? Are you having the required bandwidth? Are you having the LAN capacity, Wi-Fi capacity, so that for remote working? Are you maintaining that your data in the cloud so that anywhere to anywhere that access is not restricted with secrecy protocol? For which answer is yes, then 12 points. Answer is no, then there is 0 points here. Again, peer review is coming for our rescue here. Is the firm ICAI peer review certified? If it is yes, 4 points. If it is no, then 0 points here. Even in C&AG empanelment, if at all you have done your peer review, then there is a direct 25 points that is given for the firm's empanelment ranking. So definitely there is also a credentials that is being examined. What are the credentials of the firm that distinguish the firm or stands as a testimony to the quality of the firm? So the moment there is something called as credential that we are talking about, it may be an achievement, or it may be a qualification that we are talking about, or a qualitative aspect, or a KPI, or a key performance indicator for you. You are distinguished from others. You are highlighted from others. That in that particular case, a peer review certificate will be really a good thing. Are you empaneled with RBI and C&AG? If yes, again 8 points. If no, there is 0 points. So is there any advisory as well as a decision not to allot work due to unsatisfactory performance by the C&AG office? So have you been blacklisted like that? Whether there is an unsatisfactory work so that the CAG has cautiously decided not to give any work? If it is no, 0 points. If it is yes, there is a negative 5 points. So the maximum score that you can have is 0 only. So nothing has been reported. No problem, sir. I am eligible. Then it is a 0. Otherwise, it will be a minus 5 points. If at all it has really blacklisted, then there is a possibility of negative points here. Have any government bodies, authorities evaluated the performance of the firm to the extent of debarment or blacklisting? Again, if yes, if they have been debarred, then there is a negative points of -10. If no, there is a 0 point here. Maximum score can be 0 here. Because there are government bodies, say for example, even NAFRA will be treated as a statutory authority only. It is constituted under Companies Act 132 talks about it. So there may be a debarment based on NAFRA's decision. It may be even up to 10 years they may go for it. If that being the case, then I may not be in a position to accept any audit at all. So there are authorities who may be taking action against the auditors also, or there may be court decisions also based on disciplinary proceedings, where the civil court may provide a debarment. Assuming that even under the Companies Act, one of the criteria for eligibility of the auditor, one of the disqualification is 10 years has not lapsed from such particular conviction. Assuming that there is a person who is convicted by a court for an offense involving fraud, and 10 years has not lapsed from such conviction, then he is ineligible to be appointed as an auditor. So there are possibilities of multiple provisions like this CA Act, my General Civil Act, my Companies Act, like that. There are restrictions that could stand up. So whether is there any such of activities has taken up? If yes, then there is a -10 points. Otherwise, there is a no points is what the best point that I can have it. Any negative assessment in the report of the Quality Review Board, QRB, sometime back I have told this. Quality Review Board is an external body which is constituted again under the Companies Act in collaboration with Institute. They have government nominees also. They will come and do this particular review. As of now, it is for listed entities. So they will come for the quality review and then they may be in a position to provide suggestions. If at all there is a negative assessment, then there is a -5. Otherwise, then there is a 0 points here. As there be a case of professional misconduct on part of member of the firm where he has been proved guilty. So professional misconduct, again, first schedule and second schedule of the CA Act talks about it. So there are professional misconduct of members in practice, professional misconduct of members in service, other misconduct, like that. We have 3 categories here. So first schedule and second schedule talks about it. First schedule predominantly talks about the administrative and ethical part. The second schedule talks about technical part and performance part. So have you been held guilty by the institute, any disciplinary directorate or disciplinary board have taken any action against this particular person? If that being the case, then there is a -5 points. Otherwise, there will be 0 points. Predominantly, we all score 0, 0, 0 in this particular regard. There is no negativeness. Predominantly, 99% of the cases, except for few where there may be a disciplinary issue. So these are all quick areas where we can focus on, where we can say quickly we can evaluate. These are all very administrative aspects. But the more technical aspects is the previous one, where how I may be in a position to enhance the quality with regard to audit, enhance the quality with regard to verification methodology, what are all the policies that is to be developed to implement the training and all, will be something very, very important and relevant. That's it with regard to the various self-evaluation questions. So that the 280, 240, 60 marks and all have been allocated, as I told you, based on the points that we are securing, based on our own self-evaluation. We will be categorizing our firm into level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. The level 4 being the highest one and level 1 being the lowest one. Very, very nascent stage. So as I told you, these are all the predominant areas where the mark scoring self-evaluation could also be there. I feel there are certain practical areas that we need to focus upon, so that automatically the quality can be increased. Automatically, the compliances of AQMM, peer review and all will be raised here. So let me take some another 10 minutes or 5 minutes in this particular regard, specifically with regard to qualitative documentation of certain aspects. Predominantly, Indian firms do a lot of audit work, and we lack, or there are certain improvements that is required in case of the documentation, which is considered to be the heart of any audit. Documentation and compliance of standards on auditing are the only vaccination shield that can come and protect us with any authority for that matter. No other person will come for our rescue. Let us go for this mandatory documentation aspects here, where we take it very lightly. Predominantly, many of the chartered accountants don't focus much on this. Okay, it's all taken care like that. They go with granted, but that is not the case. Like pre-audit correspondence, before appointment, the company may be coming for an offer. You may be giving an acceptance, or you may be giving a eligibility criteria. Then there may be an appointment letter. It should be backed up with the proper resolutions here. Even non-company cases, sir, say for example, a trust is appointing you as an auditor of a particular tax audit. Then also these particular aspects are mandatory. Sir, an individual is appointing for tax audit. Then also these are all mandatory here. So it is not only a corporate setup, a big entity that I'm talking about. Many a times what happens, sir, these are all applicable only for a bigger entities. We are all very small. We operate only on a private limited companies. Why you are talking about all these compliances like that? There may be a regretness in acceptance. Please do understand. Please open up your minds. These are all simple A4 sheet papers that I want. The moment you are in a position to fill up these particular A4 sheets papers, it is going to have a substantial value. It is going to have a lot of evidences to prove and to protect you. Let us complete that particular A4 sheets. That's very, very important. So pre-audit correspondence, and there is an appointment letter. There should be a consent letter, all on a chronological basis. Communication with the previous auditor wherever required. Where it is required, say for example, previously conducted any audit by a chartered accountant, then you need to communicate. Say for example, it may be a concurrent audit. It may be an internal audit. It may be a tax audit. It may be a statutory audit. Whatever may be the case, if it is previously held by another chartered accountant, that particular audit you need to go and communicate and then to take up this particular audit, because otherwise there will be a possibility of professional misconduct as per clause 8 of part 1 of schedule, client acceptance checklist. Are you eligible to be my client? Because I have a certain policy. Are you filling up this particular acceptance or not? And then only you may be going for an engagement letter. So these are all the mandatory minimum aspects that is to be documented in every client, every audit, every year. This should be possibly be there unless there is a client acceptance for 5 years. Say, for example, if you are being appointed as an auditor for 5 years in a company, then this will be for the first year, this will be mandatory there. Every year, wherever there is a change in engagement or engagement contents has to be changed, then you can update that. A good practice is to update that particular engagement letter on a year-on-year basis. That's a good practice. And also with regard to the work aspect, letter of confirmation. Predominantly, many people do not take up this particular external confirmation here. Many debtors, creditors and all will be a huge value. Otherwise, we need to qualify. If I don't have, say for example, there is a via media, sir, confirmation letters have not been obtained. So can I put a note that debtors and creditor balances are subject to confirmation? They themselves put a note. And then I sign a balance sheet. Okay, no problem. Can I do that? Nothing doing. It will be a wrong way of communication here. As per FRRB identification and findings, simply if the company says that they are subject to confirmation and audit evidences is not available, then that itself is a requirement to go for a qualified opinion concerning the materiality. If it is considered to be material, the debtor's balance or the creditor's balance, then I cannot say it is subject to confirmation or confirmation letters are not available, like that. You cannot so go in for, you may say that, but necessarily you need to go for a qualified opinion. You cannot give a clean opinion is what the criteria are, all based on materiality perspective. If it is not material, no problem. If it is material, then I need to go for a modified opinion only is what the FRRB guidelines. Please ensure that it has been taken care. Representations by the management as per SA 580, written representations are again mandatory. It should be obtained before my audit signature has been made. Necessarily all the points, all the aspects to be confirmed by the management, because in my auditor's report, I give a separate paragraph called management's responsibility. On what basis I say? Based on the engagement letter and based on representation letter only. If the management doesn't confirm in the confirmation letters, then I cannot go for that particular evidence. So please obtain representation letters also. All these are all formats is already available. It's all already available in WASB portal, where there is a beautiful implementation guide, SA 230 implementation guide, SA 580 implementation, and all. There are implementations and checklists that are available. All pre-standardized formats are available. Just you fill it up and then send it and keep it customized little bit that is required for us is what something considered to be very, very relevant and important here. Correspondence relating to SA 240, that's about frauds. 143.12 will also be applicable here. Fraud reporting. CARO also, there is a fraud reporting. So SA 240, we need to necessarily comply. SA 260, 265, 701 with regard to significant deficiencies, significant findings, key audit matters, and all are a part of your communication only. All these are all documents to be necessarily to be made, like communication to the previous auditor, verification of my appointment, whether it is valid or not, whether precondition, can I accept this particular audit or not? There should be an engagement letter predominantly and acknowledgement for the engagement letter. That is also a part from the managements that you need to obtain an acknowledgement here. Apart from it, I would like to go for certain specific standards also. Dear friends, being a professional forum, I take this liberty to go for these standards are considered to be so relevant, so important. All the standards are relevant and important when it's like a CA examination question paper. There are two types of questions. My guru used to tell that there are only two types of question papers in CA exams. One is very important and the other one is important. So you cannot leave anything as a choice. Similarly, in standards on auditing also, there are something very important and important. Nothing is optional. So like very important standards are SA 240, SA 315, SA 570 that talks about going concern, which is recently revised also, SA 700, 705, and all are considered to be so relevant and important for everybody to comply with. Without complying, I may not be in a position to survive so long. So long that I have done, sir, what is the standards that you are talking about? Nothing was there. days have gone. Today, there is a scenario that comes into similar to that of your accounting standards. Whatever the importance that we give for accounting standards or Ind AS, the same and even sometimes more important and impact is also given for this particular standards on auditing, specifically by the regulators, specifically by the reviewers also. So ensure that these particular standards are mandatorily complied. There are also tools that are available like peer review enabling tools and all. So for a sophisticated aspect, there are softwares that can be also used in this regard. So these are all the reference material that I thought that I can share it with you so that people can make it, use it and implement it here. Practitioner's Guide to Audit of Small Entities, which is something very relevant, very simple also. Lot of standardized checklists are available in this particular institute's publication. It's a free publication that is available. Similarly, implementation guide to SA 230. Lot of checklists and formats are given. SA wise checklists and formats are also being given in this particular document, which is a very well professional document that is available. E-booklet on sample checklist on essays. That's also very relevant aspect, because both in SQC as well as in peer review, this particular checklist and all will be helping us to switch over. Even though AQMM, it is a self-evaluation mechanism. As a part of peer review, if the AQMM is there, then the peer reviewer is having the additional responsibility to verify AQMM and also to report on that AQMM. So as I have told you already, Annexure 3 will be a part wherein the peer reviewer will review how the firm has reviewed their practice, AQMM. Say, for example, the firm has made that I am into, out of 600, I got 400, like that. If I make my own self-assessment, peer reviewer need not accept it. Peer reviewer say, no, you don't have this, cut it. You don't have this, cut it, like that. He may come out with 100 points. So there is also a possibility that there may be differences. So you need to go for, based on that also will have an impact on the peer review certificate also. So please try to look into all these aspects, which are all already available, which are all an eye opener for us to enhance, ensure, and enrich our practice, is what the sole agenda of this entire audit quality maturity model, SQC, peer review, CAQ, and all are all into this particular perspective only. That's it with regard to my presentation with regard to audit quality maturity model and its impact on peer review. I felt that the peer reviews, since it's going to be mandatory for 5 or more partners from 1.7 onwards, already it was to be mandated from 1.4 onwards, but they have relaxed something for 1.7. So it's very appropriate time for us to relook and then to prepare ourselves and enable and get it certified. So that's a very important agenda item for us, being practicing units. So ensure that we are all in a easy mode to comply with that. So with this, I conclude my presentation and thank from my heart the organizers, including the chairperson, the vice chairman, and the treasurer, and all other office bearers of Bengaluru branch of CRC, where they have made it possible and they have made this particular arrangements, and having me as a faculty for this particular evening to all the learned members. With this, I conclude my presentation. I may be in a position to take up the questions that is asked in this particular regard. I may also be open for any other aspects that the people will be interested on. So let me answer certain questions that is asked here in the chat box or question and answer sessions. Whether cloud should be used to store supporting documents, need not be. Supporting documents can be on any basis. It may be digital storage. That is what that is to be taken care. Mrinal Kanti Banerjee has asked this, and they have also asked another question: whether IT audit should be carried out. IT audit need not be carried out for the firm. It's only a self-evaluation mechanism that we have to take care. Whether audit tools should be used mandatorily to perform quality audits, it's a very tricky question. Audit tools should be used in order to ensure the quality, but doesn't mean that if at all I use only audit tools, then only it is quality like that. No, because audit tools help the auditor to go in for right identification of risk and right response to that particular risk. Predominantly, my work is taken care and it is easily done. So audit tools usage will be an important and recommended mode. That's it. And whether GAP and India should be compared carefully. Definitely yes, wherever there is an accounting standard, because it falls under financial reporting framework. Being an auditor, I need to comment about whether the financial statements are in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework, wherein GAP, Ind AS, accounting standards, generally accepted accounting principles and practices, Schedule 3 requirements and all are part of it. So necessarily I need to verify carefully whether it has been complied with or not. And another question, how important to conduct internal financial control system? Questions by auditors and answers by the management. Yeah, really it's an important activity. There is also a guidance note that is provided by the institute with regard to evaluation of internal control systems, internal controls over financial reporting with reference to financial statements, wherever it is applicable. There is also a relaxation that is provided. Wherever it is applicable, that we need to go for that particular compliance also. Please go through. There should be necessarily a management's representation. Without management representation, you should not sign internal controls over financial reporting systems. So please undertake the management's responsibility. You also apply SA 315. SA 315 is exactly onto those particular points. Internal control components can be evaluated through that. So that will be of helpful for you to identify that. I hope that's the questions. In case of any other questions, the organizers can enable it, and then we may be in a position to answer that. And also in comment box, anything in comment box, please share PPT. Wonderful presentation. Thank you for your wonderful feedback. It's really nice to know. It's motivating me also. Definitely, I will share the PPT for all the members. Yes. Over to Manjunath sir or the organizers.
Yes, sir. That was an excellent session. Definitely an excellent session.
Thank you,
on
sir.
all about AQMM and its effect on peer review by CA R S Balaji, sir. Hats off to you, sir.
Thank you.
As mentioned by our Vice Chairman, CA Pramodar Hegde, regarding peer review and audit quality maturity model, the time required, the expectation from all the stakeholders, and the deliberation from the learned speaker about the expectation gap, knowledge gap, performance gap, and evolution gap, etc. And also, as mentioned by our immediate past president, CA Dr. Vashish Manti sir, that audit is a serious matter. If you're not, be away from it. So this peer review and AQMM specially requires that we, the auditors, should showcase that what has been audited and also show what has been done as a process. And every stakeholder is expecting the quality aspect from our audit. The experience in this subject by the speaker made it an interacting virtual meeting today. Thank you so much, sir. On behalf of members present here in this virtual session and Vice Chairman CA Pramodar Hegde, Chairperson CA Divya S. Inner Absentia, and all the Managing Committee members of Bangalore branch of SIRCF ICAI, I thank CA R S Balaji sir for an excellent session. Thank you, sir, for taking your time out in your busy schedule. I know you are in between an audit assignment as of now, shows the commitment towards the CA Institute and the subject also, passion towards teaching the subject. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
I thank the members who are present here and participated virtually, actually on the subject for your support, and I hope you have enriched your knowledge on the subject and refreshed your knowledge kitty. And with a request to all members who have participated to keep supporting Bangalore branch in conducting programs like this in future also. I, CA Manjunath Mahallur, Secretary of Bangalore branch, sign off for the day. Thank you. Thank you very much. And PPT will be shared for all the participants via email. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your motivating speech. Thank you.
No, it was an excellent. Truly.
Thank you, members. Thanks for your presence. Sign off.